Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto has Hashirama Sage Mode Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for Part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Sounds of clashing blades can be heard around the area as men fought to the death. A man inhales deeply before he releases a fireball of immense proportions at his opponent, forcing him to dodge out of the way. Suddenly, a voice speaks up as if remembering an event. The world has been embroiled in a series of endless battles. It has become an era of warring states, you could say. The one village per country system had yet to be born. Ninja organizations were considered a series of militia groups, divided by clans, the voice states. A memory flashes past to show a map of each clan's own territory, the two largest being one of a divided fan of red and white, the other resembles a Vajra, both a symbol and a ritual object present in Buddhism and Hinduism. These two were respectively the Uchiha and Senju clans. Suddenly, a conch shell was raised into the air and blown, giving a resonating hum that called for battle. A dozen or so men in old-fashioned samurai-like armor rushed past to confront their enemy, but were ultimately blown away by a solitary woman holding a gunbai in her hand where her own men ran past. In this world of constant strife, power was indeed everything to a ninja, the voice states as the woman plants the end of the gunbai into the ground. The voice continues speaking. Of the ninja clans, two stood out among all others. The Uchiha and Senju clans respectively held all the highest and best of all shinobi throughout the lands. The Uchiha clan was known all over the world as a warrior clan with remarkable chakra as well as the coveted Sharingan, a special eye that allowed them to do many remarkable feats. Feats such as copy any form of fighting style, kenjutsu style, genjutsu, as well as learn any ninjutsu of any element if they put the time into learning the technique they had copied. Then you have their rivals known as the Senju clan of the forest, who matched up to them in terms of power. So much so that they were called the clan of 1,000 skills, as they never stuck to one type of fighting style. When a country hired one of the two, their opponents hired the rivals, thus stirring up trouble even further. The leader of the Senju clan was a man named Hashirama Senju, and was the most powerful ninja of the era. A man said to be so powerful he was more like a god than a mere man. Many simply called him the supreme shinobi for his unmatched prowess in battle. His rival, Madara Uchiha, was a woman who was reputed to be the only one to ever hold her own for more than 30 seconds against Hashirama, the voice tells as it continues on. Time and time again the Senju and Uchiha battled. However, this endless battle was threatening to destroy both clans, the voice states, as the memory of the two men clash in a hail of steel as they throw shuriken at one another with loud clunks as they collide. As the two figures threw their respective weapons at one another, they continued to move forward until they clashed their own katanas together before Hashirama kicked his rival away. Madara and Hashirama landed several meters apart, which allowed Madara to race through a series of special hand seals utilized by the ninja. Hashirama is a tall man with tan skin and green eyes like his mother's. He has waist-length black hair typically styled in a semi-parted fringe that framed his face. He also wore the standard shinobi dress of his era, consisting of dark red armor worn over a simple black suit with sandals. This armor was constructed from numerous metal plates, formed into multiple protective guards along his body. Each collar of his shoulder guards bore the Senju symbol. He also had a cloth with the Senju symbol wrapped around his forehead. Madara is a fair-skinned woman with spiky, black hair that had a slight blue tint to it. She wore crimson armor with numerous metal plates, forming protective guards along her chest, waist, shoulders and thighs, clan's crest on its back, with blue pants and bandages around her shins. Around her waist she had a white sash that held a sack, presumably containing her ninja tools. She also wore another sash strapped across her shoulders, which she used to hold her sword. Over the years she had let her hair grow to waist length with shoulder-length bangs framing the sides of her face, covering most of her right eye. She has several scars throughout her body. Inhaling once more, Madara unleashes an inferno of flame towards Hashirama, who simply raises one hand with his pointer and middle fingers extended, while the rest are curled inward, which summons forth a wall of trees from the earth. Seconds after the wall of trees had been raised up, a blade had immediately sliced through them, which forced Hashirama to use his own sword to block his opponent from slicing him in two. The two continued to swing until Hashirama sliced upwards with his katana and disarmed Madara of her gunbai, only for the Uchiha to jump up and catch it with a hand before she fell back to earth and landed on her feet. Now panting heavily, the two simply stared at one another. Members of both sides, who believed it would be best to stop the endless conflict, banded together and created a new organization. The voice told as the memory of Hashirama's shaking hands with his rival out of respect for the other. Having been born in a war, the two did indeed like the sound of a peaceful life at the time. The memory fades as the voice keeps talking. This organization was later known as the village hidden in the leaves. The voice stated honestly before sighing, but the Uchiha and Senju were like oil and water, always fighting, always conflicting, unable to work together. To Madara, this was obvious. but she was betrayed by the others and thus left the village. Her friend Hashirama nearly wept by her leaving, as she was one of the few whom he loved with all his heart. Seeing as she didn't want to take the mantle and his brother Tobirama was the current Hokage, Hashirama followed after to try and convince Madara to come back. And since the leaving of Madara, Hashirama believed he could make the stubborn woman change her ways. However, Madara was an avenger and had in turn challenged the Leaf to battle. Madara slid back as Hashirama kicked her chest plate hard enough to not only dent it, but crack it as well. Strapping her gunbai to her back and sheathing her blade, Madara flashed through hand seals before slamming them onto the earth. Summoning jutsu she commanded as a large smoke cloud burst into existence. From the cloud of smoke, a set of burning red orbs could be seen glaring through the blinding dust before the air cleared up to reveal a large nine-tailed kitsune. 9 tails, attack! She commanded loudly as the fox burst forward with high speed with Madara standing on the top of its head. Show me what you've got, Madara. Hashirama responded as he clasped his hands together and summoned several dozen tentacles of wood from the earth to slow the charging Bijou. The 9-tailed fox had to dodge several of the tentacles where it smashed another with its hand before biting down on another and breaking it apart. As the tentacles kept the 9 tails busy, Madara leapt at Hashirama to fight him directly. However, it wasn't to be so easy as Hashirama pulled out a scroll and unfurled it, where he sent some of his chakra through it to release the contents within. Using his control over his bloodline, Hashirama used both his wood style and weapons to simultaneously combat Madara as he gathered his thoughts. Hashirama watched as the fox destroyed several dozen of his wood tentacles only for them to sprout up once again. He saw as Madara calculated each strike his own weapons would attempt to make. However, he couldn't help but smirk as a sword bit into the Uchiha's armor, forcing her to jump back and command the 9 tails to use a tailed beast bomb on Hashirama, which it of course did. Firing it at Hashirama, the Senju quickly clasped his hands together and summoned a dome of wooden pillars that stopped the attack in its tracks, where the curve would allow the attack of the fox to grind its way up into a hole at the top of the dome, where Hashirama had the wood curled downwards and then thrust up to send it away. The attack crashed through the trees for several hundred yards before it crashed into the nearby lake, while Hashirama cracked his neck before he jumped up and out of the dome of protection. Madara leaps up and feels her sword clash with Hashirama's own before they push off one another as Madara lands on the fox's head as the beast growled as Hashirama summoned a wooden dragon to try to encircle her 9 tails. But it was stopped as the fox grabbed the wooden creation before opening his jaws, where small balls of red and blue chakra combined into a purple ball, and he fired it at the wooden dragon, who caught it in his mouth only to burst apart, and Hashirama clapped his hands together. In the snake seal. Mokuton, Makujin no Jutsu, wood style, wood golem jutsu, and a wooden hand grabbed the ball off chakra and shoved it back towards both the fox and Madara, who blocked it with her Susanoo, and it exploded, where Hashirama had no choice but to call out, Mokuton, Hobi no Jutsu, wood style, wood expulsion jutsu, where he blocked it with his ever so useful Mokuton. When the dust cleared, the fox was wrapped in Madara's own Susanoo. It's the Mokuton Hobi no Jutsu, eh? Perfect for taking on difficult beasts, Madara said, looking down at Hashirama. Hashirama looks at his friend with a smirk, so she wrapped the Susanoo around the Bijou like armor. Madara, you sly fox, Hashirama thought while he looked at his friend. One of the arms on the Susanoo that held a blade struck down at him, but 2 wooden hands rose up and caught the blade. I can read your swordsmanship, Hashirama said as he clapped his hands and thrust them outward and called out. Mokuton, Hote no Jutsu, wood style, laughing Buddha jutsu, and at his command a number of gigantic wooden hands that erupt upward from beneath the ground, which encircle and then attempt to restrain his enemy. The size of each of these hands is around the size of Fox's own head. Without even hesitating, Madara swung the other sword and obliterated all the hands as well as several mountain tops. The explosion and force of the swing tossed rocks and dust into the air, and Hashirama was forced to dodge, as he jumped on several large boulders and started leaping towards the sea. At this rate, this land will be completely obliterated. It's best to move this to the seashore, he thought as he kept leaping from rock to rock while Madara in his bijou-clad Susanoo gave chase. You're not getting away, Madara declared as Hashirama leapt for a few more feet and landed at the shore of the sea. With that, the 9-tail rose up, running on 2 legs, charged up another Bijudama, and Madara wrapped the blade of one of the swords around the ball, and it fired at Hashirama, and the Uchiha shouted with some glee in her voice, "There, just try catching that." While Hashirama landed and slid for a bit, and then bit his thumb, and slammed his palm on the ground. Kuchios, Goju Rashomon, summoning, 5-layered Rashomon, Hashirama says as he summons 5 giant demonic gates to block the incoming attack. This, he thought, will change the trajectory. Madara finished the thought process as she narrowed her one visible eye. It was rather amazing that the two had such synchronicity when they fought, such was the knowledge they had on each other when they fought. The bladed Bijudama flattened the gates with ease, but it was sent flying across the sea and hit a mountain on the other shore of a nearby outcrop of land that was uninhabited, and it exploded. When he saw this happen, Hashirama felt his eyes widen. All the way to the other shore? He thought to himself before he looked back towards Madara with a slight scowl on his face. Hashirama, it's been a while since we fought each other earnestly. You can see that I have changed, can you not? Madara declared as her rival clapped his hands together and stood perfectly still, gathering his energy. As she spoke, the shockwave from the exploding tailed beast bomb blew past them, the Uchiha's hair flailing wildly in the harsh winds. You're going to lay everything to waste? To all we've accomplished up until now, Madara? Nothing will come of us battling each other. This is an insult towards our siblings and our friends, he said, trying to appeal to his friend's better nature. You know nothing of my dash. Madara started to speak, but Hashirama interrupted her speech. I don't want to kill you, the Senju declared to Madara honestly. Are you implying that you could kill me at any time? Madara asked Hashirama in a puzzled tone of voice. No, I'm saying we're friends, Hashirama declared passionately. Madara couldn't hold her rage back anymore and growled as she felt herself reach the breaking point. I've already reached it, she cried out as the fox stood up and roared. Roar. Then you leave me no choice, Hashirama said as he prepared to unleash his next attack when all of a sudden he finished gathering incredible amounts of Sage Jutsu chakra. In this mode, he gains red markings around and under his eyes as well in the middle of his forehead, Senpo, Mokuton, Shinsa Senju, Sage Art, Wood Style, Thousand-Armed Cannon. He called out as a statue so large, it dwarfed even the mountains around them rose out of the earth. The dirt that was once held to the ground fell in large visible clumps as each hand was birthed into existence. Each hand from the tip of the middle finger to the base of the palm was easily the size of a 30-story building of a modern-day skyscraper in length. Such was the size of his creation, that even Madara had to gawk at the sheer size of it. When it finished rising from the depths of the earth, Hashirama had his creation charge forward towards Madara and the fox. Here I come, Madara, Hashirama called out loudly. Show me what you got, Hashirama, Madara countered as both charged, letting loose a furious war cry at the other. Chojo Kabutsu, artifacts of the Buddha, Hashirama declared as his statue unleashed a barrage of fists which were blocked with bladed Bijudama from Madara, but in the end the sheer amount of fists overwhelmed the blasts and slammed into the Susanoo-clad fox and the earth around it, the ground zero of a powerful explosion that shook the earth for miles around as a cloud of dust rose up and blocked even Hashirama's view. When the dust cleared, Madara and part of the fox were exposed to the world around them. He stripped away the Susanoo, Madara said, shocked. As this was happening, Hashirama was busy moving his statue and then detached the statue from its fists and walked towards Madara and his current weapon. Each step shook the earth around and was followed by what sounded like a clap of thunder. Hashirama had indeed earned the right to be called the Supreme Shinobi. Madara felt her gaze back towards the approaching Hashirama with a wide set of obsidian-colored eyes and a dropped jaw as she watched as the statue Hashirama created stopped to reach down towards the fox and grabbed it around its body, which was tiny compared to the statue, holding him still, and then the wooden golem atop the main statue's head that was wrapped up by a wooden dragon proceeded to rise up before it leapt down, and with a palm extend with the kanji for peace on its palm. Here I go, Hashirama declared as his golem leapt down. Kakuan Niten Suishu, 10th Edict to Enlightenment, he declared as the golem touched the fox, forcing Madara to leap away, realizing the danger. As soon as the palm touched the red glow of the fox's eyes dimmed, and he soon fell asleep. Hashirama jumped down to face his former friend and both looked at each other for a second, then they charged. Madara! Hashirama yelled out at his friend while he charged forward. Hashirama! Madara yelled out before charging as well, her Mangekyo Sharingan spinning into existence as she leapt at her rival. After 3 days and 3 nights of fighting each other, Hashirama's Sage mode was exhausted and Madara's Sharingan deactivated. Both were exhausted beyond comprehension. It rained around them and the land was ripped apart. Madara smiled and glanced at her rival. This time you won't reach the other side, she declared as they both charged each other across the river that was formed from their conflict. There was a small katana in Hashirama's hand and gunbai and scythe in Madara's hands. They both clashed samurai style and Madara was able to land on her feet, but Hashirama collapsed into the water. Madara turned her head and looked at Hashirama while the latter struggled to rise on all fours and looked at Madara. Looks like I'm the one still standing opposite from the last time, Madara declared smugly. I just wanted to protect the dream I finally reached. I don't want any more, Hashirama huffed out. You look pretty depressed. Hashirama can't perk back up this time, eh? Madara asked sarcastically as she turned to her former friend, a confident smile on her face. When suddenly she was stabbed through the chest from behind, shocking the woman. Madara looked shocked and saw that where Hashirama was there was a wood statue, Mokuton Bunshin. I can't believe my back was taken, Madara said, taking deep breaths as she tried to preserve her fading life. I will protect my village. No matter what, I still believe to this day that protecting the village will lead to the protection of the people, shinobi and children. I will not forgive anyone who threatens the village, be they a friend, sibling, or even my own child, Hashirama growled out as Madara collapsed to her knees defeated. But I chose Konoha and you chose her. She blinked once, twice, and Hashirama forgot how to breathe. She was holding back tears. She was about to cry. Why did you choose her, when you didn't choose me? She breathlessly pleaded to know. Madara, the woman, shivered at his voice, sending another lance of pain through her chest, but she pushed it aside to listen to the man. I didn't, you're wrong. I didn't choose her over Konoha, he said softly, I chose both. Why? She demanded, her low, smoky voice cracking around the word, why her, and not me? What does she have that I don't? I'm stronger, faster, better in every way. Her voice broke, and Hashirama inhaled sharply as a tear rolled down his cheek. I am more of a woman, aren't I? Madara, he said again, struggling for words. He hadn't expected this. He hadn't expected these kinds of fears, these insecurities. She saved him the effort by reaching up to grab his ruined armor to pull him down and mashing her lips against his. Hashirama jerked, flinching away from the pain of the movement and the lips of the woman who was doing her level best to end the world they helped change. She forced her tongue past his lips, warm and eager, but he avoided its touch. He pulled away as far as he could, which wasn't very far, making protesting noises all the while. She finally relented, her crimson breastplate heaving as she leaned back. Hashirama shook his head gently. We made different choices, led different lives. It's in the past now. This whole thing, this plan of yours, isn't going to change that. Hashirama forced his body to move, to reach out and cup a porcelain white cheek in his hand. She leaned into his palm, gripping it tightly in her own. Move on, Madara, he implored. Her hand tightened around his, but her strength was rapidly fading from the lethal wound given to her by the man she loved. You've changed, Hashirama. You've got your priorities backwards. Eventually it shall someday lead the village to darkness. Madara told her rival and former friend just before she collapsed onto her side, dead. A few seconds later, Hashirama collapsed completely exhausted. 60 years later, Konoha outskirts. Namake's Minato, the Yandame Hokage, drew upon the last of his chakra as he and his wife gazed at their beloved son. The Sandaime and his squad looked at the tragic scene with tears flowing down their eyes. Fuin Jutsu, Shiki Fuin. The death god materialized behind Minato. The fourth looked at his son's face with bottomless regret as he and his wife spoke their last words to their son. He looked at Sarutobi. Keep him safe, Sandaime. He is a hero of the leaf, and must be treated as such. Promise me. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage, nodded solemnly. I promise. Minato released chakra. Seal. The Kyuubi's yang chakra was sealed into little Naruto. The Yin chakra was in the process of being sealed into the Shinigami, but Minato was faltering. A bit of the Yin chakra was sealed into young Naruto as well. Minato's face grew anguished. Kushina had already passed out, but he could still feel her life force faintly. He would not let his son be tainted by the fox's malice. Drawing on the power of the seal, he tried to pull out the Yin chakra sealed in Naruto forcibly, but to his horror he was drawing out Naruto's soul as well. Hastily he released the sealing technique and Naruto's soul snapped back into its body. The seal was somewhat changed from the traditional Reaper Death seal. He looked at the Sandaime one last time, and secured the Shiki Fuin with the 8 trigram seal. It would allow Naruto the Kyuubi's chakra with purification. He felt himself fading into darkness. Good luck, Naruto. The protective dome wavered and the Sandaime rushed in to gather Naruto in his arms. Kushina-sama is alive, Sandaime-sama. The Sandaime felt relief on hearing this. The child would not be alone. Get her to the medics, now. I will take Naruto myself. The consequences of this day's events would be beyond comprehension. 14 years later. Uzumaki Naruto was currently bored. So bored in fact that he had his head lying comfortably upon his desk, drooling onto the floor, a clear indication that he was drifting off to sleep. Naruto was predictably reaching for one of the multiple bowls of miso ramen floating around in his dreamland. His drooling increased to what one might call gross levels and he let out a rather happy snore. The food of the gods. Naruto. Naruto was rudely awakened from his fantasy land and excitably jumped onto the table. He looked around energetically before fixing his gaze upon the one jutsu dreaded by all academy students. Iruka-sensei's demonic giant head jutsu. Naruto, you inattentive little brat. Tell me, why was Senju Hashirama the most feared ninja on the battlefield of the First War? Naruto scratched his head. Well, he could do a lot of powerful jutsu? A tick mark appeared on Iruka's visage. The class snickered at Naruto, Kiba Inuzuka taking particular pains to mock the dead last. Idiot! He could do a lot of powerful jutsu, he mocked in a sing-song voice. Shut up, dog breath! Naruto yelled. Iruka blew up yet again. Quiet! Unsurprisingly, the class quieted down. Naruto, you will read up on the Shodai Hokage and give us all a detailed presentation on his life tomorrow, without fail. Do you understand? Naruto scowled. Yes, sensei, people really did not understand. How was he to read history without books, and how was he to get books without a library? They always refused to entertain demons in the village. They always called him demon. Why? His musings were interrupted by Iruka calling for the class to follow him for meditation exercises. He distractedly followed the rest of the class. Once they were all assembled, Iruka asked them to place a leaf upon their forehead and concentrate upon it, and it only. He said it would help them later in controlling chakra. Hey forehead, I guess you won't have any worries of the leaf falling off your forehead, will you? Naruto scoffed mentally at Ino and Sakura's bickering over their training. He had seen 2 graduating classes come and go, and this class was by far the worst to him. Satsuki, the lone wolf of the class, had turned away his friendship offer with harsh words. Sakura and Ino had always shot him down, so forget asking them. Hinata fainted whenever he was within 3 feet of her. Ha! The other 2 batches were okay, compared to this one. He would have passed out with them too, if not for the bunshin technique that needed to be demonstrated at the exams. Unfortunately, he always produced a sickly version of himself that looked ready to die. Thus he had endured in the academy as a failure, a dobe. Satsuki always reminded him of being a dobe, along with Kiba. Anger filled him as he thought of the multiple taunts he had endured, and the pointed glares he had received from the townsmen. Everyone seemed to hate him, and he did not know why. Concentrate, Naruto! Iruka snapped at him. Sighing, Naruto focused his attention upon the leaf on the center of his forehead. It was hard for him to remain still. No matter what others thought of him, he tried his best in the classes, never slacking off. He would command their respect in the end, no matter what. He closed his eyes and focused upon the leaf. It felt nice and calm. He showed himself to be a loudmouth and prankster for just one purpose only, to forget his childhood angst. If he kept thinking of his beatings and mistreatment, he would surely go mad. He had no happy memories, so he staved off his life's misery with pranks and such. Shrugging off his melancholy, he focused again. As usual, he felt the chakra of everyone in the room. He concentrated even more, and he could feel it. Calm and flowing. It was chakra, undoubtedly. But it felt so very different from his own. This felt powerful yet peaceful, intimidating but soothing. He felt connected to everybody. He could even feel the emotions of people around him. His always hyper-agitated mind felt calm for the first time, and he loved this feeling. He calmly let a dopey smile show on his face. However, what he didn't see or sense was one Satsuki Uchiha's eyes widening as he turned to look at him with a shocked face. Naruto! Naruto lazily opened his eyes. What, Iruka-sensei? That felt so nice, and you had to break me. What were you doing, Naruto? There was blue chakra coming out of your body. Huh, there was? I felt so good I could feel what all of you felt, and their chakras. Iruka's eyes bugged out. Tell me then, Naruto, what was I feeling? Proud yet frustrated. Satsuki here was shocked and awe-filled, I guess. Sakura was eager and horny? Ino was. Enough, Naruto! Iruka cried out, a tinge of pink in his cheeks. You will accompany me to Hokage-sama's office right now. Rest of the class is dismissed for the day. Go on, time is almost up anyway. With a giant cheer, the class ran to the door, but the angry Sakura rushed at Naruto with her fist cocked. Sakura reached Naruto and swung her fist. Much to the surprise of the entire class, Naruto ducked calmly even without looking, causing Sakura to barrel into the desk and yell out in pain. The class was silent. Naruto had dodged that punch even without looking, as if he had eyes in the back of his head. Ha 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 ha! Naruto was laughing, pointing at Sakura, who was crying. The class too broke out in smiles, even Satsuki's mouth twitched a bit. Sakura gave Naruto a nasty glare and left sniffling. The class was empty at last, with only Naruto and Iruka in it. How did you dodge that punch, Naruto? Iruka asked curiously. Oh, I could feel that she was angry with me, and her chakra was getting nearer and nearer. And I know exactly how she punches. So it was easy for me to dodge her. Iruka looked impressed and beckoned him to follow to the Hokage's office. Naruto followed easily. Unbeknownst to either of them, Satsuki had a pleased look on her face, her thoughts silent as she watched the two walk past her. So, you have returned to this time with me after all, Hashirama. God, he felt so much better after the leaf meditation thing. It was like he could feel the chakra of everyone within sight, and their feelings to a certain degree. He could feel so many presences and their emotions as he proceeded towards the old man's office. Iruka knocked on the door, and the old man's voice asked them to come in. Ah, Naruto. Iruka. To what do I owe this pleasure? Naruto, however, closed his eyes and extended his senses as he had done in the leaf exercise. 4 chakras. 1 felt like a raging fire, 2 felt like water, and the last felt like lightning. They all seemed bored yet aware, but the old man's chakra felt huge, like an ocean. He opened his eyes and looked at the old man in awe. Old man, I never knew you were so strong. The Hokage shot Iruka a questioning look. Ah, Hokage-sama, that is what I am here to talk about. It seems Naruto here has uncovered a very strong sensory ability during the leaf focus exercise. He could feel even the emotions of the people in the room along with chakra. The Hokage looked astonished at Naruto. Well, Naruto, what am I feeling? I'm proud, surprised, and anxious? Can you feel anything or anyone else, Naruto? Yeah, I can feel 4 other chakras in this room. 1 feels like fire, 2 like water, and the last like lightning, and they all seem bored but alert. Sarutobi looked stunned, as did Iruka. It seems you can sense natures as well, Naruto. This is an unexpected development. We need to test out the limits of this ability of yours. Close your eyes. Naruto closed his eyes. Now focus like you did in the leaf exercise. Keep your mind calm and try to imagine yourself as a leaf. You are floating on the wind calmly, no anger, no emotions, just. Naruto followed the instructions of the old man diligently. The Hokage's voice was hypnotic and calmed down his semi-agitated mind. He was the leaf. Bright blue chakra exploded around Naruto. He could sense so many people. The feelings were so intense that he tuned them out. There were so many chakras in Konoha, but none were as strong as the old man, but a few came close. Now, Naruto, can you tell me what the chakra of the people near the North Gate feel like? Naruto could visualize Konoha in his mind's eye. Casting his senses in the north direction, he glimpsed the gate. There were 2 chakras there. They were incredibly bored, and 1 felt like water and the other like fire. Opening his eyes, he said as much to the fire shadow. The old man nodded slowly. This is a very rare ability you have there, Naruto. It is called the sensory ability, and you seem to have an extremely strong one. To sense even natures and emotions, you are the second person I have seen could do that. Naruto looked excited. Who was the first, old man? Tell me. Tell me. Sarutobi chuckled. It was my first sensei, Senju Hashirama. You know him as the Shodai Hokage. He had a special chakra that allowed him to sense like you do. At this, Sarutobi's eyes narrowed in thought. There was no reason for Naruto to have sensory abilities. True, Minato had the sensory abilities of the second, but that was not even close to the versatility of Naruto's ability. Naruto had both range and sense. The botched ceiling of the fox came to his mind. Sighing, he reached for one of the many scrolls stored in his desk. Listen carefully, Naruto. The ability you have should not go untrained. It can be a major asset for the village to have a sensor of your caliber. So to further your ability, I am giving you this scroll. It is a documentation of sensory skills penned by Hashirama-sensei himself. Here you might find ways of training your ability. Treat this carefully and keep it secret. Flabbergasted, Naruto received the scroll with reverence. A scroll written with the first Hokage's own hands. Thank you, old man. I will become the best sensor in Konoha, believe it! Naruto said excitedly. I know you will, Naruto. Now run along. Naruto walked out of the building, cradling the scroll to his chest closely. Back at his apartment, Naruto unfurled the scroll carefully, restraining his excitement. His excitement dropped down considerably when he saw only a small paragraph on the scroll. Calm your mind, focus upon nature. Extend the sense inward, not outward. Enter your subconscious and face yourself. To be one with nature is to be one with yourself. The balance of yin and yang is the balance of chakra in nature. This is called harmony. What did this even mean? Naruto was getting very frustrated with the cryptic scroll. He decided to continue with what the Sandaime had taught him. Closing his eyes, he calmed himself as he did before. Again, he could feel the chakra of the world around him. There were 2 chakras near his apartment that were large and felt like fire, both of them. Shelving his anger at being watched, he continued with his sensory exercises. It was the same as before. What was he doing wrong? Extend the sense inward, not outward. He tried to sense his own chakra and was able to do so faintly. He tried even more, and he was astonished. There seemed to be 3 chakras flowing in his body. One felt like pure malice, all anger and hate. The second chakra felt familiar and comfortable like it was truly his own, but the third chakra felt soothing but so strong. So potent. It felt like the opposite of the first. If anything, it felt like leaves, earth, and trees. He could feel this very chakra all around him, and it was steadily flowing into his body. The second familiar chakra was fading fast and was being replaced by the soothing strong chakra. He delved deeper into his very nature and blacked out. Drip. 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 Naruto woke up in what seemed to be a sewer with bad lighting and water up to his knees. He groggily followed the passage which opened to a cell with bars so high and large that its end was not visible. The doors of the cell were secured by a single piece of paper with seal written on it. He peered behind the cell curiously, feeling unfathomable amounts of chakra behind it. It felt malicious and full of hatred beyond human comprehension. His mind almost shut down in response. "Hello?" he called out weakly. What seemed to be a mass of darkness opened 2 glowing red eyes and stared at him. A deafening roar came out of the darkness, causing Naruto to backpedal frantically and fall on his ass. The glowing red eyes focused upon his own. Ha ha ha. That was funny. Really, it was. The look on your face. You looked like a kid who had the stuffing scared out of him. The darkness behind the cell came to light, revealing a snickering giant fox. Naruto stared dumbfounded at this surreal sight. Then something else registered in his mind. The fox had 9 tails. "Kyubi!" he yelled, pointing at the fox accusingly. The fox stopped his snickering and inspected the human child in front of him. "Yeah, that's me, kid. I knew you were smarter than you let on. No need to freak out. By the look on your face, I guess you have a lot of questions. To eliminate the more obvious ones, we are currently in your mind. When you tried to trace my chakra, you ended up here. And yes, the angry chakra is mine. And no, the soothing chakra has nothing to do with me even though it is soothing." Naruto looked at the weird self-proclaimed Kyubi in front of him, and sweat dropped. "Aren't you supposed to be an evil fox that threatens people and kills them for fun, and how are you in my mind?" Kyubi looked amused. "Fine, let us begin at that point. Listen carefully, kid. Before I ended up in your cracked sewer of a mind, I was pretty normal, alright. No random rampages, though those are rather fun. I have near infinite chakra, but do you think I keep blowing things up forever? That is just hilarious." Naruto had to give the fox that point. "But why are you in my mind?" he asked. "I was put in a genjutsu by a man I would gladly kill but sadly cannot. This genjutsu awoke my bloodlust and allowed him to direct my anger towards the village. I went on a rampage killing many ninja, before the Yondaime Hokage confronted me and sealed me up in a newborn baby." Naruto was crushed. He could hardly think from the grief that filled his heart. His beloved 4th Hokage was the one that condemned him to a life full of misery and pain. Rage filled his heart as he thought of the numerous beatings, tortures, and neglect he had received from the villagers. Why was it him? Why? 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 He had reasons, kid, and I will tell you those reasons if you will do something for me. Naruto looked at the Kyubi with grief-filled eyes. "What do you want?" "Look around this place. Can you see the cracks everywhere?" Naruto could indeed see the cracks, spider webbing everywhere. The place looked like it was about to fall apart, but still held firm. The cracks seemed to radiate the same soothing chakra he had felt. "Yes, I can see it." "Good. Let me explain to you what seals are briefly. Seals are constructs that allow extreme manipulation and programming of chakra. They are expressions of the mind. Your Yondaime sealed me in with an extremely powerful one. But something went wrong with the sealing, which is all I can remember. The cracks in this place indicate that there exists another aspect beneath this layer of the seal. Now, all you have to do is continue to try and sense only the nature chakra flowing through your body. Got that? Do that and I will be able to see just what it is that lies beneath this layer that allows me to get calm so fast." Naruto easily deduced that the calming potent chakra flowing through him was the nature chakra Kyubi spoke of. His agitated mind sought the refuge of that chakra automatically. He focused upon the nature chakra and it alone. His mind calmed down fast, and he could feel it building in his body. It was dominating the other two chakra energies. He dimly got the sensation that the QB was smiling peacefully. Shaking off his thoughts at such weirdness, he focused even more. The enormous chakra of the QB was sidelined till he could barely feel it, and the familiar chakra, which was probably his own, was fading away. With a final rush, all of his own chakra was replaced by the nature chakra. He could feel his body adapting to the new chakra, the network enormously changing to accommodate its new fluid. Wondrously, he felt little pain. It was as if his already formidable resilience and healing were magnified tenfold by the nature chakra. He felt complete. If he thought he could sense well before, it was nothing compared to what he could do now. He could sense everything. It was more reliable than his eyes, ears, and smell. He could sense chakra and emotions to an acute level. Hell, he could even sense the wind caressing his body, the blissful moisture in the air, and even the earth for miles and miles and all those connected to it. He opened his eyes and saw the smiling QB in its cell. His mind, as the QB put it, was now almost covered with cracks, and the water in the sewer was rushing chaotically in a rage. He had never felt this calm or strong before. His mind felt so clear and his thoughts so fluid. Now what, QB? The QB smiled beatifically. Kid, what you have done, only one person has ever done in history. Continue what you did before, turn your senses inward, go on. Naruto determinedly turned his sense right back inward. Something was just beyond his reach just there. He began reaching for it. Unknown to him, the walls of his mindscape were close to bursting, but the QB cell was intact. Naruto was in ecstasy. He had never felt this good before. So powerful, so strong. The forests around Konoha seemed alive. Each and every tree in Konoha seemed greener and glossier all of a sudden. It was almost as if nature itself was heralding a hitherto unseen event. Something sacred. Nature chakra filled Naruto's mind and body to the brim. He took in more and more. He could feel the imperfections of his body correcting themselves. His ramen-induced malnutrition was being erased completely. His pale and sickly skin was regaining its color. His pale yellow-colored hair was becoming burning gold in color. He could not even remember who he was in the torrent of potent nature chakra. Hashirama. The name floated in his head. He latched on to the name, trying to regain his identity. The chakra was ecstasy so strong that it was painful. Hashirama. There was that name again. It meant something. What did it mean? He opened his eyes and could see the QB clearly. It seemed to be shocked, in a foxy sort of way. Suddenly the fox faded out of sight, and visions assaulted his mind. So clear that he could say he lived them. Thousands upon thousands of them. An entire lifetime. Visions of wars and peace made by him. Of treaties and trust created by him. Of love and betrayal experienced by him. They all assaulted him with the force of a battering ram. He was reeling. But through it all, there was a sense of unfathomable power, indomitable will, and bottomless compassion and love. A name. He needed a name. Who was he? The memories continued through childhood, youth, and up to a battle with his dearest friend. Battles fought and lost. Comrades gone and saved. These were too vivid and the feelings too personal to be just visions. They were memories. He could not stand it anymore. It was too much. He was dimly aware of himself screaming at the top of his voice, and he could sense inconceivable amounts of chakra being released by him. Naruto. He was Naruto. Names were beginning to associate themselves to the memories he had just experienced. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Uchiha Izuna. Midokado Hamura. Shimura Danzo. Senjutoka. Tsunade. Nawaki. Senju Tobirama. Uchiha Madara. The names went on and on, with the memories associating themselves again with names and integrating themselves into his persona firmly. He had now lived two lives: a short life of a child called Naruto, and the illustrious life of a man, no legend. Senju Hashirama. He was both Senju Hashirama and Uzumaki Naruto. His personalities were merging, both old and new. He suddenly gave out, wanting to escape the strain of two lives lived. He blissfully slipped into slumber. But Naruto's unconscious mind was working overtime. His chakra network was being modified to suit the needs of the legendary chakra of the Shodai. His muscles were being rebuilt by the nature chakra from their near-atrophied state to something much stronger. But his mind was undergoing the greatest change, incorporating the extremely massive knowledge and experience of Hashirama into itself. Any saplings planted in Konoha suddenly burst into trees. Flowers bloomed everywhere in Konoha's forests, as if it were springtime. Something wonderful was being returned to the world. The next day, the alarm clock blared hard, causing Naruto to wake up abruptly and bring down his fist hard on the damned thing. Crash! The clock and the table on which it was seated broke into pieces, splinters flying everywhere. The noise caused Naruto to wake up with a rush. He stared blearily at his wall clock, noting that he had around 10 minutes to get to the academy. His return to consciousness brought to attention the unmasking of his previous life. He knew somehow that it was no transfer of memories or skills, no experiment gone right or wrong. It was him remembering his previous life. He was both Hashirama and Naruto. He needed to think on this more. A crisis of identity never did good to anyone. He glanced at his table and groaned. A wave of his hand and a small group of trees sprouted from the floor and reshaped themselves into a rough approximation of a table. He grimaced. It seemed that he did not have the control and muscle memory he had in his previous life. Those had to be reintegrated still. Evidently, the lack of chakra control was an aspect of his life as Naruto. Shrugging off his pondering, he put on his orange jumpsuit and rushed to the academy. He could think more as he slept at class. Really, his reputation as a slacker did help sometimes. Running full pelt, he skidded in front of the class doors. "Sorry I'm late, Iruka-sensei," he said calmly. The class, including Iruka, seemed stunned at Naruto's new look. Though he still wore his horrible orange jumpsuit, he looked cool. His golden hair seemed to have grown to shoulder length. His body seemed extremely toned and solid, but what caught them all were his eyes. The beautiful cerulean blue was gone, replaced by deep forest green eyes. The color, though striking, was not important. It was the look in them that pierced his classmates and sensei, the look of compassion and love, shrewdness and joviality, most of all an agelessness and power that transcended human comprehension. Naruto had changed drastically. "Is there a problem?" Naruto asked. No. Go to your seat, Naruto." Naruto nodded and coolly sat in his seat. Then he laid his head on the bench and started snoring softly as Iruka continued his lecture. The class snickered its derision of the dead last and went back to normal. Even Iruka seemed relieved by Naruto's return to normalcy and continued his lecture. Meanwhile, Naruto had descended down into his mindscape. And he was greeted by an unexpected sight. Instead of a dank sewer half waterlogged, there was an endless forest full of huge trees and exotic flowers. It was nature at its pinnacle. Naruto smiled. As expected, his mindscape had changed to accommodate him as Hashirama. Now to search for the Kyuubi. Putting his acute sensory capabilities to the test, he followed the trail of Kyuubi chakra through his mindscape. The great Kyuubi no Kitsune was now in a different kind of prison. Instead of a dungeon of darkness, he was imprisoned in an imitation of Hashirama's technique. A massive wooden cage with seal on its doors. It seemed that the Shiki Fujin was still secure. The Kyuubi opened its eyes and looked at Naruto. It seemed a lot calmer. In fact, Naruto could sense no malice in its chakra. In fact, it seemed a lot like his own Mokuton chakra. "Greetings, Naruto, or should I say Hashirama?" "Hello, Kurama." "Yeah, I used to be Hashirama in my previous life. I am both, actually. I am for a name, I am Naruto, as I wish to be defined by this life alone. I acknowledge myself as Hashirama, but he is of the past. I must look to the future anyway. I know next to nothing after the world as it is now. So tell me, Kurama, what happened to Mito?" Kurama sighed. "I was sealed in Mito for a long time. Later I was transferred to another Uzumaki girl, Kushina. Your mother in this life. Your father is Namikaze Minato, Yandame Hokage. Before your birth, I was brought forcibly out of the seal, and forced to destroy Konoha." Naruto sighed. Conflict no matter the era. Naruto muttered before shaking his head. "So, a Sharingan? It was always a troublesome dojutsu. Do you have an idea who it was?" "He claimed to be Madara. He fought the fourth Hokage and lost. He had some good space-time ninjutsu." "It cannot be Madara. I killed her during our final battle. It is obviously an imitator. Something else is afoot in the world. I need to find out what. But first, I need to resurrect the true Konoha. Sarutobi has grown complacent." Yeah? Do what you want. Anyway, do you think you could free me from the seal? I am sure you could suppress me anyway, and I wouldn't mind having at least an illusion of freedom." Naruto scratched his head. No can do. I have only a small fraction of the chakra I had when I died and my control is atrocious. I had perfect control of my chakra and smooth flow. I can gain back my old control and regain a considerable amount of my old chakra capacity in a matter of months. It is only an issue of reconciling my old self with this self. So you'll have to wait a bit. Fine anyway, it's good to see you back, Hashirama. Your brat self was really annoying. Naruto grinned. I suppose? It is quite close to how I was as a child in my life as Hashirama. It has been surprisingly easy to get adjusted to this new development. Naruto waved goodbye to Kurama and became conscious in the real world once more. Raising his head, he looked at his classmates. Children, they were just children in a horrifying world. Konoha had fallen far. He had to help these children become shinobi fast, or they would die within months of becoming genin. The reformation of Konoha would start with this generation. His mistreatment for being Jinchuriki was evidence to Konoha's decline from what it used to be during his day. Naruto, are you ready to talk about the Shodai Hokage? Naruto smiled happily and walked down to the front of the room. It is not often one gets a chance to talk of oneself in such glorious terms. The Shodai Hokage was Senju Hashirama. He was called the strongest Hokage and shinobi of his time, and no one has ever surpassed him. He is called the god of shinobi due to his extreme power and intelligence. His closest family was Senju Tobirama, his little brother, who went on to become the Nidaime Hokage. Half an hour later. And he defeated Uchiha Madara at the Valley of End. Naruto finished smugly. The class was staring at Naruto stupefied. When did the dobe suddenly know the life of the first Hokage so intimately? What happened to the hyperactive loser who was jumping around like a moron proclaiming he would be Hokage? Shikamaru stared at Naruto contemplatively. This was too much of a change for just one day. Naruto was no longer a loser, but he exuded a calm air of surety. His bearing was easygoing and almost noble. Troublesome. Satsuki may have had her usual brooding face, but one could notice a slightly saddened look to her expression, her eyes a slight downcast at the detail of Madara's defeat at the final valley. Hinata stared at her longtime crush. He seemed a new and deep person. The Hyuga were trained to observe and conclude from a very young age, and the difference was apparent to the heiress. Activating her dojutsu, she looked at Naruto. And she was mesmerized. What used to be chaotic blue chakra was now gone. Instead, Naruto seemed to be shining bright with what seemed to be a pure silver chakra running through his network smoothly like the currents of a free-flowing river. Naruto, though, was smiling contentedly in his head. The children were given a small overview of his life, and they would remember it. That reminded him, he had to find out what happened to his clan. There were no Senju children in the classroom. So much to do. Well, he had to lay low until he was a genin prospect. Then he would have access to shinobi resources and he could gather information. Till then he would perfect his chakra control and that would help his instinctive healing as well. Ignoring the lectures of Irika, he focused once more upon his life as Hashirama, ordering and remembering with increasing clarity. He would continue to remember and regain as time went by and he trained. Genin examination. Naruto yawned as he saw Irika calling for students to administer their qualifying exams. He sighed as he thought of the falling standards at Konoha. In the months since his awakening, Naruto had fully integrated the memories of his past life. He was not Hashirama or Naruto alone, but both. His chakra control had skyrocketed, and it was almost the level it had been near his death. Absolute perfection. He had not yet tried his Mokuton Jutsu on a large scale, but he could feel that it would be easy as before. His chakra capacity was about 1/10 his original capacity and growing rapidly, and his affinity to Doton and Suiton was as strong as ever. Surprisingly, he had sensed in himself a Futon affinity but not trained in it. It would look less suspicious anyway when he would have to actually work for something. His conversations with Kurama were most enlightening. He learned a lot of his mother, Uzumaki Kushina, and her life. Evidently she was quite the Kenjutsu and Suiton user, strong enough to rival the Yondaime. She also taught the Yondaime the art of Fuinjutsu. Her fate was still not clear to him. Kurama said she was still alive at the end of the ceiling. Which meant she could have abandoned him. Not that he had any need for a parental figure. He had outgrown that in a different lifetime. Sighing, he put away any thoughts of Uzumaki Kushina. He had studied the books of history to catch up on what was happening in the shinobi world since his death. Apparently, the Uchiha were all slaughtered by their own prodigy Itachi. Itachi had then gone on to torture his little sister mentally before sparing her. He certainly sympathized with the poor Uchiha child and held no ill will towards her for her broody and ill-tempered nature. He needed to help the Uchiha child most of all, so he remained a dead last so he could be placed on that team. Uzumaki Naruto, Mizuki called. Naruto always knew there was something about Mizuki that set him on edge. After his awakening, it became even more apparent as he could sense the Chunin's hostile intent from about a mile away. He pushed away thoughts of traitorous ninja and went to his teachers. He had a test to clear. He faced Irika. Alright, Naruto. Perform the Bunshin, Henge and Kawarimi in that order, and you will pass. Naruto smiled. He performed the Bunshin alright. He did the perverted Oiroku no Jutsu version of Henge that amused him to no end. After waking up from a nosebleed that knocked him out, Irika cajoled him into performing a perfect Henge, which he did, transforming himself to Hashirama. He then did a proper Kawarimi and walked out with a Konoha forehead protector. After many skeptical responses from the children at the fact that he had actually passed and congratulations from Hinata, he settled down in front of the academy. Closing his eyes, he extended his sensory abilities all over Konoha. His sensing range was greater than in his previous life, and he could sense 20 kilometers in every direction. He could tell the chakra natures of the ninja, their emotions, their capacity, and he could even visualize the world in great detail for 3 kilometers in all directions. It was like a Byakugan without the ability to see Tenketsu. He spread his calming chakra all over the village, feeling the effects on the village. His village. He would always be here to protect the village he had founded. He could sense an incoming chakra, which had a Doton nature. The emotions were hostile, and upon deeper sensing he concluded it was Mizuki. Naruto? Came Mizuki's voice. Mizuki-sensei, is there a problem? Naruto asked. No. I come here with an extra test for you, which upon passing you will be made the Rookie of the Year. Smooth. Real smooth. I have deceived and destroyed entire armies during war. My power literally rearranged the map of Konoha. You think to fool me with such pathetic excuses? Naruto thought. He would go along with this, and see what Mizuki was planning. He could clearly sense the Chunin's urgency and greed. What is this test, Mizuki-sensei? All you have to do is sneak into the Hokage's tower and steal the Scroll of Seals. Get the scroll back to me and I will put it where it belongs. So what do you say, will you take the test? Yes. When he took down Mizuki, he would have to keep the power he exhibited down to a genin level. It would not do for the world to know that Senju Hashirama was amongst them too early. He suppressed his chakra to his former near Kage level quantity and shot off towards the tower. He could sense Sarutobi in his office. He grinned evilly. He knew just what would take care of the old pervert. He faced the Hokage as soon as he sneaked into his office. Naruto, what are you doing here? Oiroku no Jutsu. Naruto yelled, transforming into a scantily clad adorable girl. The Hokage flew back with a nosebleed, causing the former Shodai to nearly collapse from laughing so hard. He hastily grabbed the scroll of sealing that was sticking out from the bunch of scrolls arranged on a rack and made a run for it. He could clearly sense the Hokage's puzzlement and a flare of his chakra. He could feel Sarutobi's chakra surround him, and he could trace it back to the office. He concluded that he was being watched. Anyway, he happily opened the scroll of sealing and scanned the jutsu inside. All were familiar to him, various elemental techniques, Shunshin, and Kage Shuriken no Jutsu. He was particularly intrigued by the Kage Bunshin technique that his little brother Tobirama created a few years after he had died. It seemed a good substitute for his wood clone, even if a little inferior. He could comprehend the kinjutsu fast enough. He was Senju Hashirama, after all. Suddenly he could feel a chakra approaching him. Irika. He calmly waited for the man to approach him. Naruto, what are you doing with that scroll? Mizuki-sensei asked me to get this scroll for the rookie position. I passed. Isn't that great, Irika-sensei? Naruto exclaimed, jumping up and down childishly. Yes, that's great, Naruto. Now give me the scroll. Mizuki's voice joined the unfolding drama. Don't, Naruto, he is a traitor trying to use you. Quiet, Irika. Naruto, do you know why you are so hated in this village? Yes, I do, Naruto deadpanned. Mizuki and Irika were astonished. What? X3. This was also echoed by the Sandame, who was spying on Naruto. Using Mizuki's surprise as an opening, Naruto performed seals at a genin speed. Shunshin no Jutsu. Naruto appeared behind Mizuki and placed his first 2 fingers on the chakra junction on Mizuki's neck. Before he could react, Naruto pumped a minute amount of his chakra into Mizuki, rendering him unconscious. He turned to Irika. How was that, Iruka-sensei? Iruka just stared at him, before smiling like a proud elder sibling and saying, "You are a true genin and fine shinobi of the leaf, Naruto." Naruto just smiled. So did the Hokage. "You hide many things, Naruto. You will go far, so far that even I cannot imagine it." The Sandaime Hokage looked through his all-seeing crystal ball, gazing contemplatively at the most intriguing ninja in the village at the moment, Naruto. The boy was an enigma wrapped in a mystery, as seen from his effortless incapacitation of the traitor Mizuki. He displayed the Shunshin no Jutsu with a rare ease. Iruka was amazed that he could even perform the technique, but Hiruzen knew better. Naruto had performed the seals with too much ease and too little concentration showing on his face. It was as if the technique was second nature to him. And how did he know to strike vital points? True, the theory was explained in the academy, but students were not expected to know it. The mastery that Naruto had displayed was interesting. What Naruto had done could be done only by an experienced medic nin, a hyuga or a ninja with considerable battle experience, none of which applied to Naruto. "The jounin are here," Hokage-sama announced his secretary. "Send them in," said Hiruzen. The jounin filed in quietly. Asuma, Kurenai, Aoba, Kakashi and other jounin here for their team assignments stood at attention waiting for him to speak. Well, Kakashi not so much. The pervert as usual was reading his beloved Ika Ika series. The Sandaime looked at the book closely and his eyes grew round. A limited series edition of Ika Ika Violence. This was pure gold. He had to get this meeting over with as soon as possible and get that book from Kakashi. He grinned his closet pervert grin at the prospect. Kurenai coughed, noticing Kakashi reading the damned book and the Sandaime trying really hard to get a look at the book without being obvious about it. Hokage-sama, don't we have team assignments to do?" she asked primly. Hiruzen cleared his throat, looking disappointed. Yes, we do. Now then. These are the teams assigned. Aoba will get Team 1 consisting of. He went on until. Hatake Kakashi will get Team 7 consisting of Uchiha Satsuki, Haruno Sakura and Uzumaki Naruto. Kakashi looked mildly interested, nodded and went back to his reading. Hiruzen could understand that. Lucky bastard. Team 8 will be Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba and Aburame Shino under Yuhi Kurenai. The beautiful Jonin nodded. Team 9 is still in circulation, therefore, Team 10 will be Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Chuji and Yamanaka Ino under Saratobi Asuma. Asuma nodded, pleased at the fact that the second-generation Inoshikacho trio was under him. Hiruzen looked at them all. This completes the team assignments for this year's Genin. You will have today to observe your assigned Genin, and will have to begin operation from tomorrow. Good luck to you all. The Jounin nodded solemnly and turned to leave. Kakashi, stay back. We have some important matters to discuss, Hiruzen ordered, looking intently at the treasure trove in Kakashi's hands. Kurenai looked at the two of them disgustedly before exiting. The next day, Naruto waited patiently for his sensei Hatake Kakashi to make his appearance. He was assigned to Team 7 along with Satsuki and Sakura. This would be an excellent opportunity for him to test the strength of the current Jonin of the village. He had to take care not to let loose, though. He had a tendency to do that in a good fight. He knew well that he had Hiruzen's eye on him even more than usual from his display with Mizuki. The secret of his true identity could not be given out lightly, even to his former student. He would have to probe Hiruzen closely, and judge how much his student had changed over the years. Kakashi was already running late by 2 hours, and the irritation from this fact was showing on the faces of both his teammates. Satsuki looked like a brick wall. Naruto observed her closely and suppressed a smile. The girl was beautiful, and admittedly she reminded him of Madara when she was that age. Same stoic demeanor, same lack of speech and irritation with fangirls. The only thing different was a sense of superiority that Satsuki had picked up along the way. It was a bit too much like Madara if he was being honest. Hell, even her chakra was similar. If he didn't know any better, he would have said Madara created a sealing jutsu that rewound time on her. Not that he'd complain, as even when they were teenagers Madara was one of the most beautiful women he had ever met before he got into that marriage with Mito. Now, there was in fact a great difference between Satsuki and his friend, and that was the fact she admitted to him when they were younger she might have become slightly unstable due to the mental torture she had suffered from Itachi Uchiha Tsukuyami when the massacre occurred. Admittedly, it had driven her into a desire to avenge her fallen clansmen due to Itachi's rampage against them. Clan prodigies don't usually go nuts and slaughter their clan at the drop of a hat. Uchiha Itachi obviously had a good reason for doing what he did, and he had also incited Satsuki's hatred for a reason. Satsuki, like the impressionable child she was, had fallen neck deep into hatred and vengeance. The child was suffering. The Uchiha mess bore more investigation. He still had little knowledge of what happened after he was gone. Hearsay, books and rumors were not real sources of knowledge as they were always fabricated. He would know, as he had done the fabricating himself when he was Hokage for a small amount of time. What unnerved him was that the Senju clan had basically just up and disappeared, and the only known descendant was Tsunade. He smiled again as he thought of his granddaughter. He had spoiled her so much when she was little. It made him proud when he found out that Tsunade had made such a name for herself in the shinobi world. His little girl had grown so much. His thoughts were interrupted as the door opened and a tall, lean man with gravity-defying spiky white hair walked in. Opening his senses, he began to investigate the chakra of Hatake Kakashi. Team 7? You're late, Sakura yelled. Hi Kakashi, I smiled lazily. My first impression of you are all boring. Meet me on the roof. He disappeared with a leaf shunshin. Naruto too disappeared with a shunshin, stunning Sakura. Satsuki snorted as she held up a half-rammed seal and puffed out of existence. Naruto blinked as he saw Satsuki puff into being next to him before shaking his head. She probably learned it after hearing of Shunsen no Shursui, so it really wasn't a surprise to see she knew it. Turning back to his new mentor, he stared at Kakashi as he appeared on the roof with his jutsu. The Jonin hardly looked surprised, which meant that he was informed of what little capability he had shown. He was intensely reading an orange-colored book, but Naruto could see that he was very aware of his surroundings and was watching his student closely. He continued sensing Kakashi's chakra. The Jonin had about as much chakra as he did before his awakening, which was good. He could sense 3 natures in the man's chakra: Right-un, Doton, and Sway-tun. Not bad. And he could sense something all too familiar about his covered eye. Sharingan. He sensed the chakra surrounding the eye carefully. The chakra emanating from the eye was far more sinister than a normal Sharingan. Manjikyu Sharingan. Either his sensei was a power-hungry maniac, or he had experienced intense loss. The latter option seemed more plausible, as he was a shinobi under Hiruzen. Also, his emotions were all over the place. Surprise, regret, pride. Why would the man feel pride? This man was intriguing. He would have to find out more about him. His musings were interrupted when Sakura opened the door to the roof and joined them. Kakashi put down the book and began speaking. Good, you are here. Took you long enough, Pinky. Anyway, start introducing yourselves. You, Pinky, start seeing as you decided you wanted to take your time. Scowling at being christened Pinky, Sakura replied. Why don't you go first and give us an example, sensei? Kakashi sighed. Fine, my name is Hatake Kakashi. I have many likes, dislikes are too many to name. My dream is none of your business, I have many hobbies, he finished and stared expectantly at Sakura. Naruto's sweat dropped. He had just gotten the name of the man. Not that he was any different when he helped Tobirama teach Saru as a kid. My name is Haruno Sakura. She blushed and stuttered silently. Naruto had to resist groaning in annoyance. I dislike Naruto. Naruto merely shook his head. Children. My hobbies are, she blushed deeply again. My dream for the future is a final blush before she gave a high-pitched squeal. Damn, this child needed a major overhaul. At most she'd die on her first B rank if not her first C rank. Kakashi sighed once more. You next, Blondie. Naruto stared at Kakashi, and began his own introduction. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like forests and gardening. I dislike traitors and power-hungry maniacs. My dream for the future is to increase Konoha's power and prestige as its Hokage. My hobbies are practicing my jutsu and reading research texts on the nature of chakra. Kakashi stared at him before blinking a couple times. There was much more to Naruto than those academy reports said. Those forest green eyes of his were too unnerving. They were ageless and compassionate, and the boy himself radiated unbridled power. Kakashi wasn't a jounin for nothing. He knew Naruto was suppressing his chakra to seem like it was at its previous levels. He had observed the boy with his Sharingan the previous day and found that his chakra network was extremely superior, even more so than Minato-sensei. He was obviously letting only a fraction of his true strength show, and it alarmed Kakashi that what chakra he allowed to manifest was about as much as the Sandaime. There was the matter of his chakra itself as well. It was pure shining silver, instead of the usual bright blue. The Kyuubi chakra was nowhere to be found in his network. It was as if he was not a Jinchuriki. He had to watch out for his sensei's son. You go next, broody. Satsuki snorted. My name is Uchiha Satsuki. I like nothing and hate everything. My dream, no, my ambition is to kill a certain man and restore my clan. As for hobbies, I like cooking and trying out new culinary dishes that have tomatoes as a main ingredient. Naruto nearly snapped his neck as he turned to the last female Uchiha, and it was simple to understand why. Madara had loved to cook when they had first become allies and began to build Konoha, and almost everything had included a tomato-based dish. Kakashi stared at them a moment longer. Alright, the three of you are interesting and that is good. Meet me tomorrow at Training Ground 7 at 6 a.m. for the real Genin test. What? Sakura yelled. Naruto sighed. The girl did not know the meaning of calm speech. The exam you took at the academy was merely a filter. This is the real survival test, and I warn you, the pass rate is not very encouraging. Oh, and do not eat any breakfast. You don't want to puke all over the ground, do you? Kakashi waved at them and disappeared. Naruto turned to his teammates. Satsuki, Sakura. Do you want to get some ramen and get to know each other better? Sakura didn't even look at Naruto and ran off to do God only knows what. Satsuki, however, nodded her head. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. She stated before looking at him. Besides, I want to talk to you about something. She said before she pulled out a key. Here, come by my compound and we'll talk at my house. Come by my house at 5 this afternoon, and I'll have dinner ready tonight at 7, don't be late. She said before she leapt off the roof. Uchiha compound, 4:30 o'clock. Having arrived 30 minutes early, Naruto couldn't help but feel as if something was off about Satsuki's sudden kindness. Knocking on the door, Naruto had to wait for about a minute or so before Satsuki opened the door to him. You're early, she noted. Better than being late. You said you wanted to talk? Well, I'm here. So let's talk, he said, shrugging his shoulders. Meet me out back, we can have a spar, and then I'll decide if we can do some talking, she said before she walked back into the house. Naruto sighed before he simply walked around the house to the empty backyard that was large enough to have a general spar but with the use of minor jutsu. It was nice to say the least. He was pulled from his musings as he heard Satsuki clear her throat, drawing his attention. So, how do you want to do this? She asked him. Anything goes, no major jutsu and full contact is allowed, I guess, he said, more so for her than for him. He could keep up with a mere genin even as a small child himself. Satsuki smirked. Sounds good to me, she said. With that said and done, Naruto and Satsuki both shot forward towards one another. Naruto, having the superior strength, caught Satsuki's kick and punched her in the stomach, throwing the Uchiha back. Satsuki used her momentum to right herself and land on her feet, and shot back into the fight ready to continue. Naruto smirked at his opponent. He was as tenacious as himself. Naruto leaned away from a punch, jumped over a kick and spun into a hammer kick that Satsuki avoided and countered with a kick of her own that landed perfectly into Naruto's side. This time being thrown away, Naruto grunted slightly and landed on his feet. Shaking his head, he could only wonder how she had telegraphed his movements so easily. She was a lot better than she looked. Both of them shared a smirk before continuing their taijutsu warm-up. Naruto knew that he and Satsuki were even in taijutsu point-wise, so when Satsuki activated her Sharingan he was a bit surprised, so he kept a level head as the two of them stared at one another. There was more to this child than he originally thought. Naruto started to slowly push chakra to his limbs while Satsuki observed every minuscule detail of his opponent, ready to pounce on any openings. A breeze overtook the clearing and the two genin launched at one another with lightning-like speeds. Naruto entered the running water fist that Tobirama liked to use back in the day, while Satsuki went on the offense while utilizing her Sharingan's abilities to the fullest. Satsuki spun into a backhanded punch. Naruto ducked under the swing and sent an uppercut to Satsuki's arm. The Uchiha saw that hit coming and twisted her extended arm and caught Uzumaki's uppercut between her forearm and bicep. Satsuki pulled the caught arm and jumped at the same time. Mid-air, Satsuki put Naruto's neck in a leg lock, trying to choke him out. Seeing what Satsuki was trying to do, Naruto flexed his muscles and used his nearly unrivaled strength to throw Satsuki off of him, and with his caught arm slammed the Uchiha into the solid earth. Dust shot up from the impacted area and quickly cleared from the shockwave. Satsuki grunted at the near back-breaking slam. He spun and twisted herself to her feet while glaring at her opponent. Naruto huffed slightly. Satsuki put him in that hold in an instant, and he was nearly out of the fight right then and there. He would have to play it carefully in close quarters. Naruto reached into his shinobi pouch and slid several shuriken between his fingers before launching all of them towards his eagle-eyed opponent. He was the fastest and could launch shuriken at faster rates, while Satsuki relied on pinpoint accuracy. Satsuki quickly palmed several shuriken and tossed them towards Naruto's. Having less at the time, he aimed them to bounce off each other to hit the excess shuriken that Naruto threw. Naruto and Satsuki continued throwing shuriken at one another at blinding speeds, both trying to break through the wall of steel that the other was throwing. Naruto winced as he was cut on the cheek, shoulders and legs. Satsuki could obviously keep track of Naruto's barrage much better than he could. Naruto took advantage of his superior speed and started throwing more and more while subtly weaving hand seals in between, trying to pelt Satsuki with dozens and dozens of shuriken. Naruto threw 10 more shuriken that were deflected by Satsuki once more, but as they clashed, Naruto smirked as he clapped his hands and wind exploded outward with use of the futon, Repusho, wind release, gale palm. All of the midair shuriken were blown towards Satsuki, all backed by a hurricane-like gale that upturned some of the soil in its path. Naruto smirked slightly to himself. That is the first jutsu I managed to learn outside of earth and water. This body has a natural affinity to wind, water as well as lightning. Let's see how you handle it when it's toned down, Naruto thought. Satsuki flared her chakra and with 2 hand seals sent out a massive fireball that stopped the shuriken in place and collided with the wind jutsu, causing an explosion that blew both of them off their feet. Satsuki steadied her breathing and unsealed the Chikudo before taking a stance. If Naruto was going to throw around ninjutsu, she'll need to get in his face before he could make seals. Naruto won't try to use a jutsu with a lightning-enhanced sword coming at him. He wasn't that stupid. Blocking and jabbing at one another, the two quickly ended up knocking their respective weapons out from one another's hands as Satsuki kicked both their wrists, and then performed a sweeping motion with her leg that knocked Naruto down onto his back before she quickly pounced on him and grabbed him by his neck. It's you, isn't it? Naruto looked in a daze up at Satsuki. Her red eyes, products of decades of good breeding, were locked on his own with unnerving intensity. Straddling him as she was, her unreasonably long hair pulled around his head and cut off everything but her own shadowed features and vibrant crimson eyes. It was an eerie effect. Who's me? Of course it's me, why wouldn't it be me? He asked, shaking his head in confusion. He pursed his lips. That hadn't made much sense. Don't play dumb, she hissed, leaning in closer. Naruto idly considered leaning up and bumping their noses. She had a cute nose, he thought, especially when it wasn't all crinkled up by a sneer. I can see it, she said, flickering from his eyes to his lips to the curve of his jaw, drinking it all in ravenously. With these eyes, I can finally see. That chakra, the way it clings to you. I see. Chakra, Naruto whispered. This didn't sound good. What chakra? He asked. His chakra. Satsuki quivered, and Naruto let loose a strangled gasp as she leaned in closer. I should have realized it sooner, she said, reaching out and brushing a few locks of hair from his forehead. It was right in front of me for years, but I never realized. I didn't want to realize. She laughed, and its bitterness made it no less pleasant a sound. Shaking her head, she gazed into his green eyes. To think you'd be an Uzumaki, she shook her head, hair brushing lightly against his cheeks. It's just too cruel. I don't understand, Naruto admitted. Satsuki blinked, looking back at him as if registering his presence for the first time. The rotating tomo surrounding her pupils spun hypnotically, luring him back into the fog. It's you, isn't it? She whispered again, tracing a finger against the scars on his cheek. He shivered. Hashirama? What? Naruto asked, wide-eyed. No. That's not. He tried to deny it, couldn't do anything but deny as he needed to keep his identity hidden. Liar. I can see it. The same chakra that connected me to him, now it connects you to this girl. The last word was spit like a foul curse, and Naruto grunted as the Uchiha dug her nails into his throat. My descendant, Uchiha Satsuki, the one who I have become part of in this life, while you are connected to this shell of a boy called a Uzumaki. Or did you forget? It was I who figured out that it was you planning on marrying both Mito and myself before Tobirama made it against the law for two clans to interbreed so as to maintain bloodline purity, where you chose that red-headed whore over me? Then again, you were kind of dense when it came to a woman's feelings, Satsuki said, her full red lips twisting in a scowl. Naruto felt his eyes widen while in the seal. Kurama was snarling in rage, slamming against the cage he was imprisoned inside of. Madara/Madara. They gasped/roared out. Satsuki, well, Madara, he guessed now, only smiled softly at him. Hello, my love, she said with a gentle smile on her face. Naruto shook his head. How, when? He asked. Itachi killed this poor girl with his Tsukuyomi technique before she had the chance to grow into the woman she was supposed to be. I remember dying in our fight, but it was like I was trapped in a world of darkness for countless decades or centuries. When I finally opened my eyes, I noticed I was in the hospital of the village, despite knowing that I had in fact died against you. They called me the heiress of the Uchiha clan, then they called me a name I didn't recognize, and that's when it dawned on me. I was reborn as a fellow Uchiha in the distant future. After I decided to simply live my life out, and hoped that an end would come for me. But then you awakened your chakra for the first time, and I just knew, I could have you for myself now that whore Mito was no longer around to cockblock me," she said, leaning in. "You do realize we are in the bodies of young teenagers, right? Not even 18 years old," he emphasized. Madara snorted. "Of course I know that, I'm not retarded. I've known you since we were 8 when we met at the river and started skipping stones to challenge one another," she stated. "Is there anyone else from our time that's come back?" Naruto asked. "Not that I've noticed or sensed. So far it was only me, then you awoke your old chakra days ago," she said seriously. "We have a lot to discuss, best head inside," Naruto muttered. 1 month later. Naruto looked at Hiruzen listlessly as he droned on and on about how missions were assigned and distributed to the various ranking shinobi. The past month had seen Team 7 doing various D-rank missions. This was just a euphemism for pointless chores. The D-rank they had just completed was one of the most annoying missions ever. They had gone to capture one cat called Tora. That damn cat was so elusive. It had mauled him and Satsuki mercilessly. Sakura did not even get her hands on the irritating fur ball. It had given them great satisfaction to see the thing squished to death by the daimyo's portly wife. Hiruzen had then gone on to assign to them even more D-ranks, and all 3 of them had put their foot down. Their united yell of vehement denial had made Kakashi proud. His kids were being a team. But Hiruzen was far from understanding, as he and Iruka were now going on and on about missions and such. Naruto was currently holding a conversation with his tenant. Kurama looked at Naruto from his spacious cage. "Hashirama, do you know why I have brought you here?" the fox asked him seriously. "No. Why?" "I know a way you can kill the masked man easily. Listen carefully." Naruto lavished his complete attention on the fox. This could well be what he was after. Kurama had so much experience that he could well be called a baby in comparison. "Just tell him about how you, the great Senju Hashirama, ran all around Konoha to catch a cat. He will die laughing." Naruto had a tick mark on his face as he stared at the fox that was laughing heartily at his expense. It pointed a finger, or rather, a claw at him. "No, tell him about how a chicken pooped on your head when you were collecting eggs, ha 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 ha. Or how about that time you decided to peep on Madara's new body while she was bathing in the onsen, and she beat you to a bloody pulp before asking if you enjoyed it as much as she did, bwahaha." Enough. He had had enough. Exiting back to the physical world, he stared down Hiruzen. The old fool had stopped his boring lecture and was pinned down by Naruto's forest green eyes. "Enough, old man. Give us a C-rank mission now." Hiruzen looked amused and a bit harried. He looked at Kakashi. Iruka was looking at Naruto and mouthing at him frantically to show proper respect to the Hokage. Naruto found this irony bittersweet. He could now understand how little Hiruzen had felt as he and Tobirama had dumped D-rank upon D-rank on him and his team. The tables were now turned. "They are ready for a C-rank, Hokage-sama. Aren't you, team?" Team 7 nodded quickly. They were ready to participate in a war to escape those D-ranks. So yes, they were ready all right. "Bring in Tazuna-san, Iruka." They all watched as Iruka ushered in a middle-aged drunk. "So you are the ones who are assigned to protect me?" Tazuna slurred. Satsuki asked the Hokage, "Why is this old drunkard here?" "He is your mission, obviously. You are to protect him as he returns to Nami no Kuni to complete his bridge. Do you accept it?" Hiruzen asked. "Do you think those kids can even protect themselves, let alone protect me?" Tazuna asked drunkenly. Satsuki stared the old drunkard in his eyes, unleashing her killing intent. Tazuna suddenly snapped into sobriety, unable to withstand even that small killing intent. Well, he was a civilian. Now, Satsuki. Intimidating the client is not good for business, is it?" Satsuki let up reluctantly. Admittedly, she still looked rather cute when she was pissed. "We can protect you, Tazuna-san. I myself am a jounin and am more than enough for a C-rank mission. Rest assured, you are in safe hands," Kakashi said soothingly. Naruto could sense apprehension and deception floating off the old drunkard. He was obviously lying about the mission parameters. They would need to be on guard. "We leave tomorrow at first light. Meet us at North Gate," Tazuna-san, Kakashi said. Satsuki stared at Naruto with a gentle smile on her face. Sakura was all but ignored by Madara's new form, and Hashirama all but wanted to strangle the useless child. Sakura never trained, never wanted to train, and she all but ignored her health. She was underweight, her body was underdeveloped, and her chakra capacity was lower than any civilian back in the Warring Era days by a good margin. If she survived this, it'd be a miracle. As Naruto continued to follow the mission parameters and protect Tazuna, Sakura was thinking of Naruto and his change. Just a few months back, he was the comic relief for the rookies of Konoha. But now he had changed so much that he was not even recognizable. He used to be more of a little shrimp who wore bright orange and shouted about how he would be the Hokage. But now he was different. He still retained his bright personality, but he seemed wise and compassionate. Oh, and powerful. Untrained though she was, the aura of strength that surrounded Naruto of late did not go unnoticed by her. Or by anyone else. The rest of the rookies had asked Sakura just what had happened to the prank-loving doe. She had no answers for them. But she did know that Naruto was far beyond the reach of any mere genin. This realization had sobered her up. She had then resolved to want to train and stop holding Naruto and Satsuki back. She refused to be the weak link for Team 7. This did not go unappreciated by Naruto, who had kindly forgotten her previous indiscretions and restarted their relationship on a clean slate. She was happy. Team 7 was her family, and she did not let down family. Naruto walked down the road, letting his senses wash around the landscape in all directions, keeping alert for any threat. He found two. Said threats were currently disguised as puddles of water. He smirked in his mind. Seriously, that was a very substandard genjutsu. 1. It had not rained the previous day, and 2. There was no real water source nearby. Any ninja worth his salt would have noticed the two idiots. Both had water-natured chakras. He knew Satsuki and Kakashi had also noticed the puddles, by the fluctuation in their emotions. He looked at Satsuki and nodded. He received a nod in acknowledgement. Kakashi seemed as oblivious as ever. Suddenly the two puddles became ninja who wielded chain blades. They pounced upon Kakashi and tore him to shreds. Sakura let out a high-pitched shriek and froze on the spot. Naruto and Satsuki glanced at each other and shot off at the two missing ninja. Satsuki formed seals fast and shot out a fireball at the nearest ninja, who countered with a water bullet. Naruto appeared behind the other ninja and sent a palm, which was blocked. The force of the palm sent the ninja staggering. He reinforced his palm with his Mokuton chakra and struck the enemy hard, sending him flying into the tree behind, knocking him unconscious. Satsuki himself was engaging her opponent with powerful blows from her superior taijutsu. Suddenly Kakashi appeared and knocked down Satsuki's adversary. "Kakashi-sensei!" Sakura cried in relief. Naruto nodded in approval, having noticed his substitution before. Kakashi glared at Tazuna. "This is no C rank, Tazuna-san. You have lied to us, and it is well within our rights to stop here." Tazuna was sweating profusely and explained about the shipping tycoon Gato. The Wave Country was apparently run over by his company and totally oppressed. The bridge built by Tazuna was the hope for the country, as it connected the island to the mainland and made Gato's shipping redundant. "Let us continue with the mission, Kakashi-sensei. That country is obviously in need of our services, and it will be good for Konoha to have a potentially prosperous country like Wave in its debt." Naruto reasoned with Kakashi. The Hokage in him was coming out to play. Kakashi sighed. "What do you two say?" he asked Sakura and Satsuki. Satsuki nodded affirmatively, as did Sakura. "We will continue, Tazuna-san." Tazuna sighed in relief and continued on the path towards Wave Country. Naruto followed, keeping his sensing active constantly. He needed a place to let loose his ninjutsu. Preferably a large and isolated plane. His chakra was very special after all, and any spike in it would be noted by Hiruzen and his old team, so he could not unleash even a small portion of his strength in Konoha. He would have to get reacquainted with Mokuton somehow. "Kakashi-sensei, I can sense two chakra signatures just ahead. Both are quite large, and one chakra is comparable to yours. What do we do?" Naruto asked. Kakashi looked alert. "Be ready for an attack, everybody. Sakura, guard Tazuna. Satsuki and Naruto will back me up." They all nodded and proceeded onward. About half an hour later, Naruto could sense one of the chakra sources close and signaled his team. This person was clearly Jonin and had a strong water affinity, and his emotions were a kind of predatory rage. He would be a dangerous opponent. They suddenly heard a buzzing sound steadily increasing. "Get down!" Kakashi yelled, and everyone dropped down. A large head cleaver whirled towards them and missed them by a small margin. It embedded itself deeply in a tree by the edge. Crouched upon the blade was a masked ninja who stared at them steadily. "Sharingan no Kakashi, no wonder the demon brothers failed," he said in a deep voice, surveying the team with a critical eye. Kakashi too stared back. "Zabuza Momochi, demon of the bloody mist. All of you guard Tazuna. This fight is beyond you." Zabuza wrenched his blade from the tree and walked towards the group and stood opposite Kakashi. The environment around them was thick with the chakra they were releasing. The very air was heavy in anticipation. The two jonin started leaking strong killer intent into the air. Tazuna, who was unaccustomed to this, sank down to the floor in terror. Sakura's face was set in a rictus of terror. Satsuki drew closer to Naruto, who stood there unconcerned by the ninja before her and Hashirama as he gathered large quantities of his chakra. She was mesmerized by his chakra. It was beautiful. Naruto could see that the killing intent was heavily affecting his teammates. Drawing Mokuton chakra, he released it into the air, calming the frightened genin and client. Zabuza and Kakashi looked at this new phenomenon in interest. "Good trick, kid. Do you believe that will save you?" Naruto snorted. "Save the cliché threats, Zabuza. Tell me, where is your accomplice?" "A sensor ninja, right?" Zabuza asked, intrigued. "Silent killing won't work, then." He suddenly disappeared and attacked Kakashi with a powerful swing of his giant blade. Kakashi blocked calmly with his kunai. The two then went on to engage in a fierce kenjutsu fight, shockwaves erupting from the collision of their blades. They were so fast that it seemed like rain hitting metal continuously. Zabuza tried to cleave Kakashi in two with a heavy swing, but Kakashi slipped under his guard and buried his kunai in his opponent's chest. Zabuza dissolved into water, and the original appeared behind Kakashi, and kicked him hard off the bridge right into the water. A clone of Zabuza formed next to Kakashi and trapped him in a sphere of water. Zabuza grinned. "You are taken care of for now, Kakashi. Watch as I kill your genin right in front of your eyes." Kakashi cursed himself for failing to such a simple strategy. He had to intensify his training as he seemed rusty. "Run! You are no match for him." Zabuza grinned again. "That's right, brats. Listen to sensei and run. Leave the bridge builder though, and I might let you live. I want Kakashi's head for my bounty." Satsuki and Naruto growled and Sakura flinched but gripped their kunai tightly. Naruto was irritated though. How dare that man threaten his comrades? He would need to put the creep in his place. Senju Hashirama did not run from such annoyances. "Satsuki, Sakura, leave this to me and guard Tazuna," Naruto ordered calmly. "Oh ho! It looks like the little genin is stepping up. You three are not true ninja." He suddenly stopped his dramatic monologue as he watched Naruto. Massive amounts of silver chakra exploded from Naruto, saturating the air and almost bringing Zabuza down to his knees. The ground around the blonde started cracking from the immense pressure. Zabuza stared in alarm at the boy who was supposedly a genin. He needed to be put down fast, so he blurred through his hand seals, "Suiton, Suryuden no Jutsu," he roared, causing a huge water dragon to rise from the lake and rush towards Naruto. Kakashi stared with growing horror. Satsuki snorted and Sakura closed her eyes at what she assumed was their impending doom. Naruto clapped his hands calmly in a serpent seal. "Doton, Daichi no Kabe," he intoned calmly. A huge wall of earth rose to shield the group from the water dragon, easily dissipating it. Kakashi stared with pride and curiosity at the blonde who had performed a high-level jutsu casually with only one seal. Satsuki and Sakura were just frozen with shock at the display of such power. Zabuza frantically blurred through another seal sequence. "Suiton, Daibakufu no Jutsu," he yelled, and a huge spiral of water rose from the lake and blasted with unbelievable force towards Naruto. Naruto did not release the serpent seal. "Doton, Asudaragan no Tesu," he said quietly. The earth in front of Naruto exploded, releasing 4 huge earth dragons. 2 of them neutralized the onrushing water jutsu, and 2 collided with Zabuza, sending him flying. He was obviously grievously injured when he landed heavily on the shore. Before Naruto could finish the job, the dormant accomplice appeared and ran with Zabuza fast. Kakashi appeared next to Naruto. "Leave them, we will be ready for them later. Tazuna-san, lead the way to your house. Sakura and Satsuki, protect him." The 3 nodded and went on, still staring at Naruto with awe. Kakashi gave Naruto a hard glare. You have a lot to answer for, Naruto. It was the day after Team 7 confronted Zabuza. A day after Naruto drove Zabuza back effortlessly and ignited suspicion in Kakashi's mind. Naruto sat at the shore of Wave Country, the wind ruffling his hair. He waited for sunrise and Kakashi with a calm look on his face. He had thought long and hard as to what to say to Kakashi and decided upon a course of action. Since the awakening of his previous life, he had given himself little time for self-introspection. He had created for himself an illusion of normalcy over the months, and his deceptive mask was beginning to seep into his true personality. As if remembering a previous life, that too his life as the Shodai Hokage would ever be normal. If what Madarwell Satsuki now had said is true, it'll take 3 to 5 years to fully assimilate all his former powers and knowledge into his body. However, his power was returning at an alarming rate, to the point even he was a bit worried about his future prowess. The ease with which he had forced a supposedly A-rank criminal to flee forced him to truly confront his awakening. There was always a niggling doubt in his mind that he had gone mad. But the fight with Zabuza had erased that doubt forever, even more so than the tussle with Kakashi a month ago. Thus he had finally asked himself the important question. Who was he truly? He did not think like the old Naruto anymore. No, he had lived and lost too much for that, even if only in mind and another life. The old Naruto was a boy who was starved for affection, cast out and abused by the very populace he was sacrificed to protect. So he put up a bright front and drew attention to himself, seeking to convince himself that he was a normal part of a normal society. The truth hurt, so he had shielded himself with a lie. It was the thinking of a child. Ever since he realized his previous life, things got more complicated. He had grown into the experienced and the highly cultured mind he had developed as Hashirama rather abruptly. During the months he spent sorting the two lives he had lived, he was flitting between the personalities he possessed during this life and his previous. He knew that was not healthy, and that he was developing a psychological disorder. Luckily, Senju Hashirama also knew a way to treat this disorder. He used to be the foremost medic of his age, after all, and had a working knowledge of psychology. Thus he had come here to the quiet shores of Nami to meditate and accept himself, to stop just using his life as Hashirama. He was here to become the person he used to be as Hashirama. Naruto's life was too melancholy to be dwelt upon. The scars, mental or physical, endured during childhood went deeper than those gained as an adult. They healed faster as well, but he was denied the innocent forgetfulness and forgiveness of a child. No, he was forced into the thinking and strength of his legendary previous life, and that had changed him in unexpected ways. Senju Hashirama, despite his life and losses, was extremely strong, both as a shinobi and as a man. He had taken all the challenges life threw at him with fortitude and cheerfulness, and he was extremely easygoing. He had refused to give in to the dark side of a shinobi, strongly remaining a beacon of solace and hope to the village he had founded. He was the light of Konoha, an unassailable force that kept the village strong and prosperous. A guiding force of mercy and compassion. Naruto, on the other hand, knew little happiness during his childhood. Stripped of parents, love, and forced to survive in a cold and hostile village, he had developed a sad and melancholy view of life, and was considerably confused and angry. He now drew solace from his life as Hashirama. The love Hashirama had in his life was enough to heal the hatred in Naruto's. He would stop letting this life's trauma darkening his true self. The first light of dawn washed over the shore, causing Naruto to look up at the beautiful scene with a smile on his face. An epiphany struck him at that point. He did not have to answer the question of who he was, not yet. He was still a child now. He would continue as the Shodai Hokage in mind and let the future shape him into a new person. The sun broke out in earnest, casting everything in the fresh light of dawn. Naruto could feel the confusion, anger, and resentment he had been hiding since the awakening drained away. He could feel the unshakable calm and assurance he had felt as the first returning. It was faith in himself and his strength. Faith in his precious people. He now appreciated his rebirth for what it was. A second chance. It was a second chance for him to protect what was precious to him, to lift Konoha back to its greatness. Back to the village that held kindness and camaraderie, loyalty and faith above everything else. That resolution left him with a feeling he had been missing for the entire duration of this life. Peace and contentment. He felt more like himself than he ever did as Naruto or as Hashirama. The golden age of Konoha would be back, and he would do his best to make that happen. This time he would guide Konoha to be stronger than ever before. The legacy of the Senju clan would not fade away. The wind blew once more, causing his shoulder-length blonde hair to fly as he stood up, either as Naruto the attention-craving and damaged boy nor as Naruto who was desperately trying to choose between two lives. No, he stood up as the reborn Shodai Hokage, who was tempered by the trauma of his second childhood. He was wiser for it, but not darker. He could sense a familiar chakra approaching him. It was time for him to tell Kakashi the truth. Trust had to be freely given, and he had come to the conclusion that Kakashi was a ninja who had the will of fire burning brightly within him. A shinobi worthy of his trust. Kakashi walked towards the place he had asked Naruto to meet him at. He had directed Satsuki and Sakura to do the tree-climbing exercise, and left them to it. He knew that Naruto had extremely perfect chakra control. One could not perform those earth jutsu with just a single seal without that much control, even if one had a very strong affinity. Naruto was an enigma, and he would get his answers today. He would care for Naruto the way Minato had taken care of him. Kakashi made his way beside Naruto, who was calmly staring at the newly risen sun, and tapped him on the shoulder. "Well, Naruto?" Naruto turned to face him and Kakashi gave a gasp. Naruto had changed even more. His blazing forest green eyes had held compassion that should not be seen on any child. But now they held resolve as well, unearthly resolve. Those eyes at least were old. His face though was quite cheerful. He seemed to have thrown a great weight off his soul. He almost looked like Minato-sensei. "Hey, Kakashi-sensei. So you are here for answers, right? You want to know how I have changed so much?" Kakashi snorted, amused. "Yeah, that is why I am here. I'll keep your secrets as long as they are of no harm to Konoha. Oh, and don't bother to lie, I will be watching you closely with my Sharingan." "Cool. Don't worry, Kakashi-sensei, I won't lie, it's not in my nature to do such a thing." Kakashi nodded. "So." Right, Naruto sat down with crossed legs, a thoughtful look on his face. He cast out his senses for intruders and found just two people sufficiently far from their position. Just as a precaution, he put up a very powerful silencing barrier. "You do know of the botched ceiling, I believe?" Kakashi stared wide-eyed. "You know of Kyubi? How is that possible? Who told you?" Naruto waved his hand unconcernedly. "I met the fox and he told me everything about the ceiling. Except for the fourth's mistake, neither he nor I know what happened then." "You met Kyubi? You must be careful, Naruto. That thing is pure evil." Naruto snorted. "No, not really. It is just a bored immortal fox with a great deal of power on its hands. I will die eventually and it will be free one day, so it can wait. A century means nothing to the Bijou, you know." Kakashi just stared. "Anyway, I know that Yandame was my father, and Uzumaki Kushina is my mother." Naruto looked at him meaningfully. Kakashi sighed. "I did not expect this day to come so soon. Yes, my sensei the Yandame was your father, and your mother is alive. She did not abandon you, by the way. She loved you too much for that. But you must ask the Sandame for details though, as I have no idea why she left." Naruto was happy. His mother had not left him callously. He would definitely grill Hiruzen for answers, though. "That is a relief to hear. I would have forgiven her anyway. Family is too precious to throw away so easily, is it not?" Kakashi looked at him in wonder. "You are no child, Naruto. Nor are you a mere genin. Tell me, who are you?" Naruto was laughing. "You hit the nail right on its head, Kakashi-sensei. I will tell you, don't worry. Anyway, the mistake during the sealing had awakened something in me that is impossible for any soul to awaken. It is truly the Shinigami's gift to me." Kakashi looked serious. "What did you awaken?" "It did not happen until a few months ago, when my old sensory abilities manifested stronger than ever. Has to do with the absorption of my Uzumaki chakra, I guess." Naruto started mumbling theories. His tangential thought process was cut off by Kakashi's sharp voice. "What do you mean, your old sensory abilities, Naruto? Just what did you awaken?" Naruto looked Kakashi in the eyes. "Watch closely, Kakashi-sensei. You will not believe what I say without me showing you." Naruto turned to the opposing shore, which was just visible. Tazuna's half-complete bridge lay far to their left. He gazed at the bridge, calculating and visualizing. He turned back to the opposite shore and gathered his chakra. Kakashi looked on as chakra exploded from Naruto once more, a massive amount. How could a boy of 13 release so much chakra and not even blink? He waited for Naruto to do something. He saw Naruto perform the serpent seal, and he could see chakra being molded in an unfamiliar way with his Sharingan. Was it an earth jutsu again? Mokutan Haijutsu, Makuzai no Okibona Hashi. A great rumbling sound was heard, and the waters of the sea were churning as if something was trying to come out. What came out caused Kakashi to nearly faint. A massive bridge made entirely of wood rose from the sea, identical in every way to Tezuna's. It spanned from Nami to the mainland in a straight line, and it was monstrous in size. It was about half again as large as Tezuna's bridge. Kakashi pinched himself hard, convinced he had lost it. No, the bridge had not disappeared. He flared his chakra to a high, and then Ki, he yelled, sending out a huge blast of chakra. Naruto facepalm. Convinced he was not under a genjutsu, Kakashi stared at the wooden bridge reverently. Then he turned to Naruto with a look of absolute amazement on his face. How? He asked, his voice shaking. You asked me twice what I had awakened, Kakashi-sensei. The answer is I awakened memories of my previous life and became that person recently, with a few changes of course. Kakashi had a look of dawning realization on his face, but still observed Naruto with his Sharingan blazing. I was an Messenger Hashirama, one of Konoha's founders and its Shodai Hokage, just as Satsuki is my oldest friend, rival and former lover Madara Uchiha of the Uchiha clan. Kakashi did faint this time. Momoichi Zabuza had just woken up groggily, and the first thing he saw was Gato's unpleasant face leering at him. Woken up, have you, demon of the bloody mist? Haku appeared in front of Gato and released his killer intent, causing Gato to fall down to his knees. He let up a moment later. Leave. Scum like you don't even deserve to lick the feet of Zabuza-sama. Gato scowled as well. Make sure you get the job done, or else. Zabuza turned to Gato slowly. The blonde boy is very strong. He and Kakashi together cannot be defeated by just me and Haku. You will need to reinforce us with more shinobi. And where am I going to get more shinobi? It was hard enough to get hold of you too. Missing me are tough to find. Zabuza said weakly, I will send a message to one of my previous acquaintances. He is strong enough to get the job done providing you pay him well, Gato. Haku just looked worried. But Gato ignored her, and looked directly at Zabuza. And who is this ninja you have so much faith in? Zabuza closed his eyes, preparing once more to rest. Hashigaki Kisame. Satsuki had just finished breakfast with Sakura. Eating alongside them were Tsunami, Tezuna's daughter, and Inari, her son. The door opened to allow Kakashi and Naruto inside. Satsuki threw a glance in their direction and was startled. Something had evidently changed between sensei and student. Where Kakashi used to look at Naruto with pride and appreciation, he now gave Naruto a look full of respect, awe, and reverence. This did not go unnoticed by the girls either. What happened, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked. Kakashi glanced at them, and his expression changed to his usual bored face. Things happened, he said listlessly. Satsuki gave her trademark response, of course things occurred. She muttered. Sakura looked at Naruto. Why were you not there for training, Naruto? The tree climbing exercise? I already know it, Sakura-chan, Naruto said cheerfully. Sakura was about to retort, but remembered Naruto's exploits at the bridge again. He would probably know the exercise at that. Inari suddenly spoke up. Why do you all bother anyway? Gato is going to kill you all. He is too strong for anybody. The shinobi all gave him a deadpan little shrimp that looked unnerved by their silent glares. Why are you all looking at me like that? You have no idea how strong Gato is. You have no idea what we have suffered. Satsuki looked irate at that statement, Sakura looked irritated, and Kakashi just went back to his reading. Naruto had sympathy on his face as he looked at the kid. We have all suffered, child. More than you can possibly imagine. Don't worry, Inari, you will soon see something that will restore your faith. All of you will, Naruto said, looking at all of the family of three with satisfaction. What do you mean? Tezuna asked. Naruto looked at Satsuki and Sakura as well. Come with me to the bridge, will you? You will see something remarkable. Sakura snorted, what are you talking about? Satsuki only shook her head, he probably know, he did do something stupid. Naruto just looked overexcited now, come on. And he appeared behind his teammates, and started dragging them off, ignoring their vehement complaints. Kakashi just smiled at Tezuna and his family. He is right. You will see something that will stay with you the rest of your lives. Tazuna shrugged and followed Naruto along with his family. Inari just looked pissed, as did Sakura as they walked behind Naruto and Kakashi towards the bridge which was coming into sight. Naruto just laughed at their identical expressions. They reached the bridge entrance after a 15-minute walk. We are here, Naruto. What is it you wanted us to see? Sakura asked with extreme irritation upon her face. Look to your right, Sakura-chan, Naruto said mischievously. They all did, with the exception of Satsuki, and felt their jaws drop. Tazuna and his family stared at the completed and massive all-wood bridge as if it were their salvation. Tears ran down their faces as they realized they were saved. They were saved! Inari started laughing through his tears, as did Tsunami. Tazuna fell on his knees. Sakura lifted up her hands in the ram seal and yelled Kai. Kakashi bonked her on her head. Don't bother, I did that too. It's real. Sakura looked at Naruto with just one question written all over her face. How? I have Mokutan, Naruto said happily. Sakura looked stunned. I don't believe you, it must be something else, she said pointedly. Satsuki just stared at him with adoration and love which didn't go unnoticed by Naruto or Kakashi. What is Mokutan? Tazuna asked curiously, getting over his astonishment over seeing the wooden bridge. It is the most revered bloodline in Konoha, possessed by the Shodai Hokage. The power he wielded with Mokutan is almost a fairy tale. It is said that he created Konoha's core area and the forest surrounding it with a single jutsu. Sakura recited from what seemed like rote memory. The bridge builder and his family looked awed. Inari looked at Naruto with an expression dangerously resembling the one on Satsuki's fangirls. And you have it, Naruto Naizen? He says he does, but there is no way he can have it, Sakura said vehemently. Mokutan, Shinboku no Jasho, Naruto intoned, looking smugly at the pinkette. A beautiful cherry tree rose up from the earth behind them and stood about 30 feet high, spreading its branches over them all. Its bright pink blossoms showered down upon them softly, thanks to the force of its birth. Beautiful, Satsuki whispered in reverent awe. No way. Sakura seemed lost for words, as did Tazuna and family. Kakashi pitied them all. If only they knew that it was the Shodai himself who was wielding the wood release in front of them and his greatest rival was right next to him. Sakura, Naruto showed you and everyone here his Mokutan as a measure of his trust in you. Please do not say anything about it to anybody until I say it is fine, got it? Sakura just nodded dumbly. I need you to promise me. I promise, said Sakura, Tazuna and the others. Satsuki turned to Naruto. So you created that wooden bridge all by yourself? I find that hard to believe, Naruto, even if you have wood release. Only Hashirama-sama could create things on such a scale, she said with a knowing smirk. Naruto started. The only thing that could catch him off guard like that was something Madara could only say. Believe me, it took the last of my chakra, Satsuki, and I had to take a soldier pill to replenish my lost stores. I was literally crawling after doing that, Naruto lied calmly. If he had one thing common in both lives, it was that he could not lie to save his life. Sakura still looked skeptical still, but one look from Kakashi told her to drop the matter. Naruto will use Mokutan only in the direst of situations, so do not bother him about it. It is not something to be used frivolously, as it is the most sacred and coveted of Konoha's bloodlines. Clear? They nodded again. Naruto heaved a sigh of relief. He could now practice his ninjutsu without fear of discovery by Konoha's higher echelons. Tazuna turned to Naruto and spoke, Is wood not easily combustible? That bridge can be burnt down easily. Naruto replied nonchalantly, Relax, Tazuna-san. That bridge is as durable as stone and about as combustible. So you need not worry about it. Tazuna was convinced. He bowed low to Naruto. You are a hero to Nami, Naruto-san. My capabilities must not be revealed, Tazuna-san. This is all I demand for my services. Can you deliver? I swear, Naruto-san. Your secret is safe with me and my family. Naruto nodded. One day later. Naruto opened his eyes, stopping his meditation. He was currently trying to bring back the purity and potency his chakra had back in his other life. That would take him at least another 3 to 4 years, by which time he estimated that his old capacity too would return. But what made Naruto shiver in excitement was that his growth would not stop there. Oh no, It would continue at the rate of an Uzumaki and a Senju, which he knew was astronomical. He grinned excitedly. His chakra capacity this time would be much higher than his chakra capacity as Hashirama, which was a truly frightening prospect. In the age of the founding Kage, Hashirama was said to be the foremost Kage. He had enough strength to casually calm the rage of 9 Bijus simultaneously. They called him the strongest shinobi to exist since the Rikudo Sennin. That strength multiplied by 2, even by 3. This time, he would have the strength to protect his precious ones and his village. Take that, Madara! The child in him proclaimed, which was pretty much all of him. He used to be called frivolous and childish by the entire Senju clan. His trip to his happy place was interrupted by a bonk on his head. Turning indignantly, he saw the emo face of his teammate, Uchiha Satsuki. Naruto, can I talk to you for a second? Satsuki queried with an uncertain look on her face. Naruto looked closely at him. He seemed to be in discomfort. Sure, what is it? He questioned. I was thinking, when we return to Konoha, let's see if we can have a contract written up, combining the Uchiha and Senju through you and your secret by marriage. I know we're young, but in reality we're old enough to be grandparents. I don't want to miss my new chance and potentially lose you to someone else, she said. Naruto felt himself almost choke. Marry her? She wanted to get married? Was this because of what happened to him and Mito all those years ago? No, this was something else entirely. She wouldn't ask him this unless it was for the specific reason of saving her family. Naruto took a breath and spoke with dry lips. I think we need to talk a bit more when we get back home, Madara, but I am not against your proposal of a marriage contract to myself, he told her. The two of them trotted off, a much stronger bond forming between them. Naruto was quite happy inside. Satsuki was the first friend he had made in his life as Hashirama and as Naruto. Even the experience and maturity of him being Hashirama reborn did not fill the void left by lack of friends. It intensified it actually. Hashirama had thrived on friendship, love and loyalty. Resolve filled Naruto. I will protect her, and the bond we have. I will not fail her again. 3 days later. Naruto looked around at the training ground idly, and an anomaly came to his attention. It seemed that a massive chakra with a water affiliation was rapidly approaching the bridges, presumably to destroy them. Gato had made his move. Kakashi-sensei, I can sense a massive chakra with a really strong water affinity heading towards the bridge. What do you think we should do? Kakashi turned towards Naruto. How massive is the chakra, Naruto? He still fumbled with the name. I can match him, but only just. I can outlast him with my chakra control though. Kakashi was alarmed. A ninja with as much chakra as the Shodai? Naruto must have sensed his discomfort, for he replied. Do not worry, Kakashi-sensei. Currently I am at about 1/5 of my old strength. The body of a child, even an Uzumaki child, can handle only so much chakra. I will grow back into my old strength and more in a few years. Kakashi looked relieved. It is clearly a diversionary tactic, Naruto. They hope to separate us. Naruto nodded. Kakashi continued. Gato would not hire multiple missing nin of this much strength, as it would threaten his own position. So we can assume safely that this person you sensed was the only new hire. Would you check to be sure? Naruto cast out his senses at full strength and checked 7 kilometers in all directions. Except for the one he had sensed, there was no one else notable. Just the one. Kakashi started thinking aloud again. We can assume 2 things. One, Gato's base is at least more than 7 kilometers from here, as you could not sense Zabuza. Naruto agreed with him. And secondly, we can now be 100% sure that Gato has hired only one missing nin. How do you figure that? Naruto asked curiously. Zabuza knows that you are a sensory type, but he has no way of knowing your extraordinary range. The strongest sensor in the 7 swordsmen had a range of 3 kilometers, so Zabuza would have assumed that much as well. So if you could sense no one at full strength, it means that there is indeed no one, as the enemy will have underestimated your sensing range. Naruto gives Kakashi a look of respect and nods. A great jounin indeed. I can tell you one last thing though. The one rushing towards the bridge is probably one of Zabuza's acquaintances, as Gato does not have his fingers deep in the shinobi missing nin world yet. Kakashi looked towards his other 2 students. Go on, Naruto prodded. Sakura had by now finished her training and was walking leisurely towards them. Satsuki had her Sharingan active and stood next to Tazuna. By your description of his massive chakra and strong water affinity, it is most likely Hashigaki Kisame. Naruto looked intrigued. Can you tell me more about him? I only know that he has so much chakra that he is dubbed the tailless-tailed beast, and he possesses the great sword Samahata which consumes the chakra of its opponents. So it would be better if you go and deal with him, while I stay here and defend Tazuna-san. Naruto understood. Kakashi had proved himself as worthy of his reputation once again. An excellent analysis, Kakashi-sensei. Now I need to be going. Make Zabuza bite the dirt for me, will you? Kakashi chuckled and nodded. Naruto disappeared with a shunshin. Where is he going? Sakura asked. Kakashi turned to them. Gato has made his move. Zabuza and his accomplice will most likely attack here, so get ready. Sakura and Satsuki looked excited and nodded. Kakashi directed them to begin evacuating Tazuna and family to a safe place so they could fight the enemy unhindered. Naruto appeared on the bridge he had raised with a series of fast shunshin. A figure awaited him on the water a good distance from the bridge. He appeared before the ninja with another shunshin. In both his lives, he had never come across an odd specimen like him. Naruto contained his impulse to just start laughing out loud. He was blue-skinned and looked like a shark taking human form. Oh, and he wore a black cloak with red clouds stitched upon it with a porcupine-like sword slung across his shoulder. He again sensed the abundant chakra oozing from the man and saw that his earlier estimates were right. The chakra of the swordsman felt unrefined and unsubtle but was full of raw power. You look ridiculous, Naruto voiced his thoughts. This man was obviously a jutsu powerhouse. It would be a close fight. The man scowled. You are the brat Zabuza told me to be wary of? You don't look like much to me, just a short, snotty Konoha genin. Scram, brat. I have a bridge to destroy. Naruto was a little irritated at the jab to his height. He could not use shunshin too much in this fight, as he would need all his chakra at his command at any instant. He released his chakra in an explosion of silver, causing the water to spiral around him agitatedly. His opponent grinned and released his chakra as well to much the same effect. The two steadily continued pumping more chakra into the air. The waves started getting higher and a wind blew hard in response to the agitation of the water. The man unslung his huge sword and held it in one hand. Naruto narrowed his eyes. He was strong. I am Hashigaki Kisame, wielder of Samahata. You are strong, brat. What is your name? Naruto smiled, settling into the opening stance of the nature fist. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, genin of Konoha. He disappeared with a burst of speed and attacked Kisame with a kick which was blocked nonchalantly with Samahata. This ninja was good. Naruto grinned, this would be a great fight. Flaring his chakra even more, he started fighting Kisame in earnest, the graceful power of the nature fist matched by the masterful kenjutsu of Kisame. Shockwaves emanated from wherever they met, causing water to fly everywhere in violent waves. Naruto was unleashing more and more strength in his blows and Kisame seemed to be blocking them all with some effort. Naruto flared his chakra even more, his blazing green eyes settling on Kisame's fish-like ones. Kisame had unwrapped the bindings on Samahata and held it towards Naruto. They both disappeared once more, and met with a resounding impact, causing water to fly outwards in a huge circular wave. Kisame grinned as the unwrapped Samahata absorbed the monstrous impact of Naruto's strike. Naruto sagged suddenly and looked at Samahata in realization. Samahata likes chakra, brat. Allow me to feed it with yours. But Samahata suddenly started coughing as it started going limp. Naruto wanted to laugh as he saw the sword acting sick. The stupid thing had taken in a healthy dose of his nature chakra. Looks like Samahata has a bad case of indigestion, Kisame, Naruto said, laughing. Kisame looked incensed, and flew back a good distance, and started going through hand seals rapidly. Suetun Baku Sui Shoha, Kisame yelled. A humongous water wave rose from the sea and hurtled towards Naruto seeking to crush him. Naruto too gathered chakra and held out his hands in the tiger seal. Suetun, Suijin Hiki, he responded. A massive water wall rose up to absorb the impact of the wave, rendering Kisame's jutsu useless. Kisame stared at Naruto with a raised eyebrow as the water settled down. A jutsu like that with a single seal? Not bad, brat. You have a very strong affinity to water, I see. But Tobirama's was always a bit stronger, he thought nostalgically, watching Kisame clap his palms together and slam one hand on the water surface. Suetun, Gasho Kazame. 5 ferocious sharks shot towards Naruto from his palm. A cool jutsu, thought Naruto absently as he felt a large spike in Kakashi's and Satsuki's anger. His heart skipped a beat. He could no longer sense Sakura's chakra. He had to finish this fast. He held up the dragon seal and yelled out his jutsu. Suetun, Mizu no Yuzu o Kakadai. A huge whirlpool whose diameter spanned a third of the entire length of his bridge started forming around Naruto rapidly, so powerful that it even exposed a bit of the ocean floor deep beneath him. Kisame's sharks were snuffed out of existence like little gnats, and the whirlpool kept on expanding ominously towards Kisame, who was retreating hastily and prepared to counter with his own jutsu. Naruto heard a tremendous explosion behind him, but paid little attention to it. Naruto abruptly released his jutsu, causing the water of the sea to roll around chaotically, generating powerful currents. He used the distraction to catch Kisame in his genjutsu. Kokwanjo no Jutsu. Kisame suddenly flailed around blindly, caught in a genjutsu of absolute swirling darkness. He flared his chakra continuously in massive pulses, trying to break out in vain. Naruto held too firm, though, pouring most of his chakra into the Bringer of Darkness technique. He appeared behind the essentially blind Kisame and struck with his forefinger at a vital point on his head with great precision, knocking him out instantly. He suddenly felt a sharp pain in his back, causing him to fall to one knee. He reached behind and pulled out the kunai embedded in his back. Blood flowed down his back. The wound was quite deep. His spine was nicked, and only pain tolerance built over decades allowed him to think clearly. He looked up and saw a young man wearing a black cloak stitched with red clouds in the process of slinging Kisame on his back. He routed pure medical chakra towards his injury and healed himself almost instantly, and stood up. The young man had turned to leave. As if a wound like that could keep him down. Sharingan. The young man had a Sharingan. No deeper sensing told him that he possessed the Manjikyu as well and that it was used frequently. Uchiha Itachi, Naruto said calmly. This youngster was a real enigma. He could wait a bit to talk, as he could sense that his teammates had ended their fight. A face closely resembling Satsuki's, check. Manjikyu Sharingan most likely obtained from clan slaughter, check. The man turned around abruptly, his eyes widening at the sound of the boy who he thought was seriously injured. I thought I had neutralized you, Naruto-kun, Itachi said, his stoic face expertly hiding his emotions. You seem to be making a habit of killing unwary people, Uchiha Itachi, Naruto said, silver chakra exploding from him again. The Kyuubi healed you, I assume. Let him believe that. A reasonable assumption. You are a real prodigy to have escaped my sensory perception so thoroughly. Good job, Naruto said admiringly. Itachi did not acknowledge that in any way. He studied Naruto carefully with his Sharingan. You are very strong to have defeated Kisame, Naruto-kun. He was not really giving it his all, but I can see that you weren't either. Naruto's expression became cheerful, his silver chakra receding. Yeah, that was a good fight. Tell Kisame that it was fun. Itachi did not respond except to raise his eyebrow and disappear. He surveyed the damage wrought by his fight with Kisame. The trees along the coastline were all destroyed. He could repair that, no problem. He turned around completely, and saw something that made his jaw drop and eyes bug out. He had destroyed the bridge he had so dramatically created with his own jutsu. That whirlpool he used against Kisame had churned his bridge to pieces. He would be the laughing stock of Team 7. He really felt like going somewhere private and banging his head repeatedly on a wall. He should have made the wood of the bridge a little more chakra resistant, he thought sadly. But that would have aroused suspicions among shinobi that a Mokutan user walked the lands again. It would completely destroy the rumors Kakashi had planted about his multiple shadow clones building a bridge in 2 days. Deciding to forget this embarrassment, he shunshined quickly towards Tazuna's house. He had been relieved when he had faintly felt Sakura's life force. He could heal almost any injury except death. A fully recuperated Team 7 waved one last time to the people of Nami, Tazuna and family at the forefront of the huge group, and began walking back to Konoha contentedly. Tazuna's bridge was complete. Naruto had refused to rebuild his wood bridge, saying that the hope of Nami had to be created by its people alone. Thus they had named the bridge after Team 7, all their names engraved upon its arch. He had briefly told Kakashi how he had defeated Kisame and confronted Itachi, alarming the man greatly. Naruto wanted to make speculations and give details only when they were back in the presence of the Sandaime. Some secrets were too sensitive. The fight with Zabuza had gone well, resulting in the death of both Zabuza and his accomplice, who he learned was called Haku. What a waste, Naruto thought. The last Hayatan user lost to the world. Evidently Satsuki and Haku had met once before the fight, with Satsuki knowing Haku's true identity. Satsuki had refused to strike a final blow against one she considered burdened enough. Haku had died to protect Zabuza from Kakashi's Raikiri. Gato had then assailed the entire group with his thugs. So Satsuki and Zabuza, the latter moved deeply by Haku's sacrifice, had together finished off the entire thug army, albeit with a little help from the villagers. Zabuza too succumbed to his wounds and was buried alongside Haku. And when it was all said and done, they decided to just be silent about the transgressions and go home where they could relax. See you later. Naruto waved to his teammates. They had just returned to Konoha from a very educational mission in Wave Country. Kakashi, Naruto and Satsuki made their way towards the Hokage Tower leisurely. Will you tell the young monkey everything? Satsuki asked Naruto. I will. He could pick up signs of deception extremely well even as a boy, and I am not really good at deceiving my precious people. Truth is the strongest weapon. Lies can always be twisted against you, as you may know from your own experience as a shinobi. Kakashi nodded as they stood in front of the Sandaime's secretary. We are here to report the success of our mission to the third, Kakashi stated lazily. The secretary gave her customary dirty glance to Naruto and went to find out if the third was free. Doesn't it bother you, the way you are treated in the village? Kakashi asked Naruto regretfully. He had to have been there for the boy, but it was impossible. The village had needed every ninja on call to recover from the Kyuubi attack, and Naruto would have been as good as neglected in Kakashi's home. Not really. As Naruto the child, I learned to disregard the glares of the people, though it really caused me unutterable sadness. But now, I really feel sad for the village Satsuki and I found it. They are just like sheep, unwilling and unable to think for themselves. That was not my intention for the shinobi of Konoha. The secretary came back. The Sandaime will see you now. The two hidden founders followed Kakashi into the office of the third Hokage. The more Naruto saw this place, the more he felt the change Konoha had undergone. This office, which had exuded a sense of loyalty and patriotism to the village during his reign, now gave off a sense of bureaucratic power-mongering. Hiruzen. His student had sacrificed much for the sake of the village, but one glance at him told Naruto that he was weary. The will of fire burned in him still, but the village had asked too much of this man. He had given up family, love, and much more for Konoha. Hiruzen, at least, was everything he had hoped to see in the future generation. Report, Kakashi the Third ordered, looking at Naruto, Satsuki and Kakashi with a discerning eye. Hi, Sandaime-sama nodded Kakashi, and began his report. On the road to Nami, we were attacked by the demon brothers of Kiri, who were dealt with easily by Satsuki and Sakura. Turns out that Tazuna was lying about the mission. Kakashi related the events of the mission up to when Zabuza attacked them on the bridge and Naruto drove him off. Hiruzen looked surprised. How do you know those jutsus, Naruto? Naruto took a deep breath. Old man, this is private. Very confidential. I suggest you send off the 4 AMBU guarding you. It is only for your ears and will only take a moment. Hiruzen signaled, sending off the AMBU. If he couldn't trust Naruto, he could trust no one. Naruto went to the wall behind Hiruzen's desk and placed his hand on it, watched carefully by Hiruzen and an amused Kakashi. He flared his chakra and caused a glowing seal array to appear on the wall. Hiruzen's eyes grew wide and he stared at Naruto with the full authority of a battle-hardened warrior. How can you know the existence of those seals, Naruto? How can you use them? He practically demanded from the young blonde. Naruto unleashed the full might of his chakra, causing cracks to appear on the wall and the plastering to peel off. Hiruzen's table was cracking up. Satsuki felt herself forcing chakra into her feet to stop from sliding back from her former lover's incredible power being brought out. It felt as smothering, as if the air itself had thickened. Kakashi found it difficult to breathe as he stared with awe at the Shodai Hokage unleashing his chakra. And to think it was only a fraction of his strength. Hiruzen had his hand upon his heart, as he felt a chakra he thought he would never feel again in his life. It was impossible, he convinced himself. It was impossible for Naruto to have nearly the exact same chakra as his beloved departed sensei. But the boy's actions spoke differently. He had activated that seal. The seal array on the wall glowed a blinding white, and the room lurched violently, causing its 3 occupants to stick their feet to the ground with chakra to stay firm. The light receded, and Naruto turned to look at Hiruzen with an expression of compassion and pride on his face. It is safe to talk. Hiruzen stared hard at Naruto, disbelief written clearly upon his face. How is this possible? You should not even know of that seal's existence. No one should, except the Hokage. Naruto smiled. I will answer you, Sandaime. When the mistake happened with the sealing of the Kyuubi into my infant body. How do you know about the Kyuubi? Hiruzen asked, alarmed. I know about my parents too. As I said to Kakashi, I spoke to Kyuubi. Please listen to the rest. Hiruzen nodded, withholding his turbulent emotions at the sudden onslaught of information. Go on, I will withhold my questions for now. The mistake awakened a new aspect for me. I found myself remembering my previous life, old man. That should be impossible, but it happened. I think you can deduce the rest, can't you? Naruto said, looking at the wondrous realization blooming on the Hokage's face. Hashirama-sama? Hiruzen asked with a hushed voice, his eyes shining. Naruto looked at Hiruzen with happiness and nodded. I am him, but I am Naruto as well. I think you can appreciate the merging of my 2 lives better than anyone, as you knew me intimately in both lives. I am proud of you, Hiruzen. Kakashi looked at the reunion between sensei and student with his hairs standing on end. He was watching history unfold here in this room. 2 of Konoha's greatest figures, who should have met again only in the afterlife, stood facing each other in the most unlikely reunion of all. Sarutobi Hiruzen was lost for words. He sat dumbly, staring with awe at the legendary first. That is how you could activate the seal. I guess I have no choice but to believe you, Hashirama-sama or Naruto. What should I call you? I am Naruto, Hiruzen. I should never have remembered my old life normally. It was a 1 in a million chance, and it happened to me. I am Naruto who remembers his old life as Hashirama. I am both Hashirama and Naruto in essence. Hiruzen stared at his mentor as he described himself. He could see both Naruto and the Shodai in the boy. The Hokage swallowed a hard gulp and motioned to the Uchiha, and Satsuki. I assume she discovered the secret, or you freely told her? He asked. Satsuki shook her head. No, not exactly, monkey. She said, getting a perplexed look from the Hokage at her jibe. See, much like Hashirama, I too in this life held a hidden cache of memories that were sealed away. It wasn't until the Uchiha massacre that I fully awoke my own power, much like Hashirama did. Satsuki Uchiha, the original vessel to my current body, perished due to the act of Itachi using his Tsukiyomi on her, which allowed my full consciousness and soul to overwrite any lingering existence of her. And just like Hashirama, I awoke my past lives' memories. She explained before activating her Mangekyo Sharingan. Its design gives the appearance of 3 intersecting ellipses with 3 stretched triangles evenly spaced around the pupil that each curve at the top around the eye to form a circle, making it similar to a pinwheel. 1. Hiruzen felt himself shiver in fear. He knew this type of Sharingan was rare, very much so, but he didn't recognize the pattern in her eyes. But he wouldn't have to wait much longer as Satsuki spoke up once more. I was, and still am, Madara Uchiha, she declared. This is most unexpected. It's understandable, and before you ask, no, I do not desire to destroy the village I helped Hashirama create. The reason we had our battle was for an entirely different reason, and I don't want to talk about it. It wasn't one of my best moments to do what I did, but it happened regardless, she admitted. Hiruzen nodded. I understand. Thank you for not harming anyone during your growth till now, he said calmly, despite knowing he would never be able to defeat the village's 2 founders. Forgive me, Sandaime-sama. What was that seal Naruto just activated? Sarutobi cleared his throat. It is the most advanced seal created by Mito-sama and Tobirama-sensei for Hashirama-sama's use. It was attuned to his chakra and his chakra alone. This is irrefutable proof of Naruto's claims. Kakashi looked at Naruto, seeing as the Sandaime was off on a mental tangent. Why is it safe to talk after the seal was activated? Naruto's eyes glazed over as he recalled the memories of past days. My wife Mito and my brother Tobirama made that seal for me to insulate the Hokage's office totally from the outside world. It is a space-time seal. The way Tobirama explained it to me, it transports those occupants of the room I choose into the space between moments. Kakashi looked confused. What does that even mean? Don't ask me. Tobirama and Mito-chan designed that thing. It was Tobirama who was always into things like space-time techniques, and my wife's mastery over seals was unheard of even during the Age of Founders. Satsuki shrugged in agreement. Well, he's not exactly wrong. Hell, before he married Mito and I wanted to have some time to socialize with Hashirama, we'd use the seal to simply speak of what we wanted or even eat some good sake to alleviate the day's stress. She stated. Let's not go into the more descriptive details, okay? Naruto said, a blush slowly growing on his cheeks. Oh please, like you didn't enjoy some of the more naughty things we did in here. Satsuki smirked at him. If memory serves her right, the desk Hiruzen sat behind was the very same one where she conceived little Izuna-chan on. 2. Shame she had to give him to that prick Hirama to watch over due to her wanting to keep her secret affair hidden. Curious enough, she wondered if anyone ever found out about his true parentage. Kakashi still looked quizzical. Back on track, the truth is, all I really understand is this. As long as I hold this seal active, whatever happens between the chosen occupants of this office for that duration will happen in a single instant of the flow of time in the world outside, effectively sealing the required conversation completely from the outside world. Kakashi looked at the clock, which had frozen. But on close observation with Sharingan he could see that the second hand was moving very slowly. I smiled. Now I understand. To be able to do something like that, not even Sensei would have been able to do that. Hiruzen, who had come out of his funk, shook his head in disagreement. Minato was just tapping into his potential and had invented the Hiraishin no Jutsu as a teenager. I think he would have surpassed Tobirama-sensei if he were to still live. Naruto could feel the drain on his chakra as he held the seal active. Hiruzen, let us get on with it, please. I think I can hold the seal for another quarter-hour maximum. I don't yet have the amount of chakra I once had as Hashirama, and this seal is very draining. Let me tell you of what happened in Wave from my perspective. Naruto launched into a narrative of how he had driven off Zabuza the first time, and how he had defeated Kisame. He also told the Hokage of how he had confronted Satsuki's brother. You need to tell me what is up with that Itachi kid later, Hiruzen. He is really not the sort to kill needlessly from what I sensed of him. I can smell something wrong with the entire Uchiha affair. I may have defected from the village decades ago, but even I can piece together that something major had to have been going on within the Uchiha. The fact that Itachi killed every man, woman, and child sends out too many red flags. As Satsuki, her final thoughts were how she wanted to avenge her clan, but that Tsukiyomi effectively snuffed her life away. The Uchiha said. Hiruzen sighed sadly. You are right. The Uchiha slaughter was not the work of a maniacal shinobi. I will tell you about it later. The two founders merely nodded. We will need to speak of my mother as well, but we do not need the seal active for that anyway. It is my right to have that information. Kakashi interjected smoothly. I believe our time is running out. Let me complete my report. Kakashi finally finished relating his part of the mission. This is troubling indeed. I must ask Jiraiya of the connection between Itachi and Kisame and their similar clothing. It implies that they are part of an organization, and any organization that employs such powerful ninja is to be treated with caution. Naruto agreed completely. I have to release the seal soon, Hiruzen. Is there anything else that is to be confined to this room, anyone? Kakashi and Hiruzen shook their heads. One last thing, Hiruzen. Let me tell you that I am truly proud of you. But do not worry, I will get that hat back from you in no time. Hiruzen looked 10 years younger after the day's happenings. You deserve it more than I do, Hashirama-sama. You have become a great shinobi and Hokage, Hiruzen. You fought for Konoha all this time and sacrificed much for my legacy to continue. You have more experience in this world than me, and I will not disregard that. Don't get any idea of just handing over that hat to me, though. I will earn it rightfully as Naruto. Hiruzen gave a true smile. Satsuki was reminded why, during her life as Madara, she had allowed herself to fall in love with the man, allowed him to take the hat away from her and lead the village. Hashirama was a natural-born leader, one that even she couldn't compare. I should have expected that. I understand, Naruto. You can release the seal. Naruto deactivated the seal with a sigh of relief and the room lurched again, denoting them slipping back into the true flow of time. To the ANBU outside it had just been 2 seconds. Naruto now looked at Hiruzen seriously. Tell me why my mother left, old man. I need to know. Please tell me. Hiruzen looked sad. I will tell you, Naruto. It is a long story, and I need you to listen carefully. You do know of the reputation of the fourth, don't you? Naruto nodded impatiently. Alongside the fourth fought a kunoichi almost as strong as him. It was your mother, Uzumaki Kushina, also known as the Red Death of Konoha. Together the couple were so strong that they practically ended the Third War almost by themselves. Naruto knew all this, but listened proudly as Hiruzen described his parents. They were strong indeed. Your father's name was feared in IWA beyond anything else. Namake's Minato single-handedly destroyed an army of IWA shinobi by his Hiraishin no Jutsu, earning him the name of Yellow Flash of Konoha, as all that the enemies of Konoha saw was a glimpse his yellow hair before he killed them in the hundreds. Your mother, however, inspired the same fear in Kumo. When Minato was engaged with the now Raikage of Kumo-e, who was then a Jounin, the army of Kumo which had assaulted Konoha was free to rampage through our thinly spread forces. Kushina then arrived on the battlefield and annihilated the entire army. She too was extremely fast and a master of Kenjutsu. Kushina's long red hair flying as she flashed through the battlefield, and she cut down her enemies, earned her the name Red Death. Naruto listened closely as Hiruzen continued. The war ended after some time, and none of the other villages dared to aggravate Konoha again, fearing our strength. Your mother was pregnant with you after marrying Minato in a ceremony known only to the Council of Konoha and its high-ranking shinobi. You know of the consequences of the Kyuubi affair better than I. Minato was dead, and Kushina was barely alive. Her Uzumaki resilience was not for nothing though, and she made a full recovery in another 2 months, during which time you were placed under the care of Uchiha Mikoto. That piqued the two founders' interest for a moment. So Satsuki and he shared a very personal past. Satsuki felt even more close to Naruto after hearing this. The Sandaime continued. The moment she recovered fully, she took you back and began to raise you. But when you were about half a year old, IWA got word of your existence, as did Kumo. To this day we do not know how the leak happened. Anyway, something terrible began to happen in consequence. There were nearly daily assassination attempts made on you, sometimes causing you terrible wounds. But you always healed yourself. It was the fox's chakra. Thanks for that, Kurama. Naruto thought gratefully. Think nothing of it, Hashirama. You are the best vessel I ever had, you know. Even as an infant your chakra calmed me and made me think of my days as a young kid. Naruto smiled, motioning for Hiruzen to continue. Your mother always thwarted those attempts. We tried to impose sanctions upon Kumo and IWA, but they always denied their actions. Konoha was weary of war, and they had lost their beloved Yondaime, so morale was at a low. We were still recovering from the Kyuubi attack. Hiruzen looked really sad at this point. However, one day when you were about 1.5 years, an assassin stabbed you right through your gut. The assassin was killed, of course, but it left your mother absolutely distraught. She had lost her husband whom she loved, and she had seen her darling son nearly die. She then reached a conclusion. Naruto looked at the old man, his emotions churning. He could hardly remember these events. It was her and Minato's reputation that brought down such hatred against you. You would never be safe as long as you were associated with her. She had too many enemies. So she came to me with a plan. Though it broke her heart completely, she had to let you fade into anonymity and outside her life. Namake's Naruto would be killed in an assassination staged by Konoha itself, and Uzumaki Naruto would be quietly enrolled in an orphanage. The plan went perfectly. Naruto was now unsure of what to think. So he asked questions. What happened to my mother then? The third sighed. She accepted a series of S-class missions outside Konoha to draw attention to her and away from you. I was to call her back only when I felt that you were strong enough to defend yourself. I think she lost a piece of her soul back then. Naruto looked down sadly. He understood what had happened and hated the necessity for it, hated the circumstances. Now that I know you are strong enough, I will call her back. Do not judge her too harshly, Naruto. She sacrificed even your love for her to keep you safe, and that is a great sacrifice indeed. Naruto sighed. He did understand and deeply respected and admired Kushina's actions. But the suffering he had endured without her still lingered in the depths of his mind. He could not help but slightly resent her. But as the reborn Shodai, he could view the situation objectively. Kushina had indeed chosen the option that was most feasible, and the choice had to be made fast anyway. He could empathize as he had made many such choices in the First War. He needed to sort his feelings out a little more. When will she be back? Naruto asked Hiruzen. Within a fortnight. You will be reunited with her in a fortnight. Please treat her at least civilly, Naruto, she has suffered deeply. Being reunited with her son will heal at least a part of her. Naruto nodded. You have given me much to think about, old man. I need to go, said Naruto, walking out with a thoughtful face. Kakashi looked at Sandaime. He will be far greater than even the Shodai Hokage, won't he, Hiruzen-sama? Hiruzen smiled brightly. He will indeed. Satsuki snorted, and yet again I am reminded of how charismatic Hashirama was, but this child who he inhabits is an even more charismatic character. He shall be a shinobi with no equal, she said before she left the room. 3 days later. Naruto walked leisurely with Sakura and Satsuki. They had just been told by Kakashi that they were nominated for the Chunin exams and could make the choice whether or not to compete. All of them had decided to say yes. They were to come to the academy tomorrow where the first test would be administered. He had thought hard on the issue of his mother, and decided that she was a great kunoichi and mother. Anyway, he felt no real need for a parental figure now, so what resentment he would feel at her was lessened. He would wait to meet her, and then see. He felt a tug on his consciousness. What, Kurama? Hashirama, I definitely feel the presence of at least one bijou. There might be another as well. I think it has to do with how well they are sealed. The one I sense for sure is the Ichibi no Shikaku. Be careful. Naruto flared his senses and could clearly feel the presence of Shikaku's Jinchuriki just around the corner. The chakra of the container felt too chaotic to him, so he could conclude only one thing. The container was losing his sanity. He assumed it was due to a weak sealing method. He suddenly felt a spike of the container's bloodlust. They would damage nothing in Konoha on his watch. Thanks for the advice, Kurama. He turned to his teammates. I sense trouble in the next street. Foreign ninja. Do you want to come with me? We might meet some of the competition early. They nodded. The three of them walked purposefully towards the source of the commotion, and saw what looked like a clown bullying a kid. A kid that Naruto recognized as Hiruzen's grandson, Konohamaru. He walked towards the clown and called out to him. What do you want? Said the clown in what was meant to be an intimidating tone. Let the kid go, my friend. That is the Sandaime Hokage's grandson you are so busily bullying. It is not considered polite for a visiting ninja to assault the relatives of the village's Kage, is it? Naruto said calmly. The blonde girl turned to the clown. Kankuro, let the kid go. Imagine what would happen if Gaara finds us fooling around. The clown called Kankuro gave an involuntary shiver. His face then hardened. All right, Temari. I will let the kid go if he begs for my forgiveness. Naruto looked at the boy exasperatedly. Satsuki stepped up and held up a single-hand seal, Shunshin no Jutsu. She disappeared, and only appeared on the other side some distance from the group, holding Konohamaru, who she set back on the ground. Kankura's and Temari's eyes bugged out. The chick was fast. Naruto could sense the Jinchuriki of Shikaku within their proximity. Obviously he was trying to hide, suppressing his chakra as much as possible. That would not work on sensory-type ninja. Come out, Ichibi no Jinchuriki, Naruto said, looking directly at Gaara's hiding spot. Temari and Kankura turned pale. The blonde knew Gaara's secret. This put the entire plan at jeopardy. They had to inform Baki-sensei of this development as soon as possible. Naruto could sense the anxiety and tension of the two in front of him. It was not normal. Either these two feared the mistreatment of their teammate, or it was something else. A red-headed kid with bags under his eyes appeared in front of Naruto. He studied the blonde for a bit and turned to his teammates. You have disgraced Tsunegakure by your actions, Kankuro. Now come both of you, we are leaving. But Gaara Kankuro opened his mouth and stopped when killing intent flooded the entire street. Shut up or I'll kill you! Kankuro shut his mouth after that. What is your name? Asked Naruto. Who, me? Temari said bashfully. The blonde was very attractive, and she couldn't help but admire his features. But there was something about the blonde that transcended them all, something different. Even Gaara felt that. No, the one with the gourd, Naruto clarified. I am Sabaka no Gaara. I am interested in learning your names as well. He looked at Satsuki and Naruto. Uchiha Satsuki. Uzumaki Naruto. I look forward to fighting you. Mother thirsts for your blood, Uchiha. And yours as well, Uzumaki. She craves yours, said Gaara ominously before leaving with his teammates. Sakura went to Konohamaru to confirm if he was alright, to which the boy nodded. The honored grandson then started ranting about Satsuki's and Naruto's awesomeness. It was obvious to Naruto that the kid was starting to idolize Team 7. Shikaku made his Jinchuriki think he was his mother? What happened to that raccoon? He was always a little on the loose side, but this is too much even for him, Kurama sniggered. Naruto, though, was a strange mix of emotions. He wanted to help his fellow Jinchuriki but could not do that as Shikaku would immediately recognize him as Hashirama. He could hardly let his secret out so easily. The poor kid would have to control the bijou himself, which meant he had to realize love and conquer hatred. That would be tough for him from what he saw. It would be nigh impossible with the Shikaku passing himself off as the kid's mother, of all things. He started laughing out loud at that, joined by Kurama in his mind, causing Satsuki and Sakura to look at him strangely. What's wrong with you? Nothing, Satsuki. I need to go and train. See you tomorrow at the academy for the first round. Still laughing quietly to themselves, Bijou and Jinchuriki made their way back home. Naruto sat happily on a seat in his beloved ramen shop, Ichiraku Ramen Bar. He was currently in the process of scarfing down his 11th bowl of the precious dish. Ayam turned to him and asked, "You really have to stop eating so much, Naruto. It's not good for you, you know. I'd bet that if I stab you right now with my fork, you will bleed ramen soup." Naruto did not reply and began to stuff his mouth with his 12th bowl of the dish. He had definitely not lost his love for ramen after his awakening. Oh no, it has definitely increased. Do you really have to stuff yourself like that? Came a female voice to his right. Glancing, he saw two blonde females eating ramen sedately. Both had strong chakras, one with Raiton and the other with both Raiton and Katon. They both seemed to be mildly irritated. The chakra of the one who had spoken to him felt familiar in a strange sort of way. He sensed deeper. Matatabi, came the hugely surprised voice of Kurama. Naruto started. What was it with all these Jinchuriki popping up in Konoha at the same time? He looked at the nearby Jinchuriki. Who are you? I am Niyujuto, and this is my sister Samui. We are Kunoichi from Kumogakure here for the Chunin exams along with our other team member, Oma. I am Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto introduced himself. Samui just waved at him. Naruto waved back at her enthusiastically and focused on Yujuto. You are special, aren't you, Yujuto-san? Yujuto narrowed her eyes on him. You too are special, Naruto-san. A sensory type, are you? Naruto asked her, slightly surprised. So are you. Let us walk together. Samui, I am out, Yujuto said to her sister. Naruto and Yujuto walked out of the ramen shop, Naruto waving goodbye to Ayam. Nice to meet you, nearby Jinchuriki. Naruto greeted her, looking at her properly. She was quite pretty, not that he was attracted to her. Her chakra felt extremely strong, filled with pure power that was beyond most humans. A Jinchuriki in control of her bijou. Nice to meet you as well, Kyubi Jinchuriki. Yujuto chuckled. How could you sense the Kyubi? Its chakra is suppressed by mine at all times, Naruto queried. It is suppressed quite well, Naruto-san. But I am not Kumo's strongest sensor for nothing. I assume you met the Ichibi Jinchuriki? Of course. Careful of him, he is slightly crazy and will slaughter anything in his path, living or otherwise. I didn't sense any other Jinchuriki in this exam, did you? No, I believe it is just the three of us. See you later, Naruto-san. We have a team meeting about now, let's meet in the exams. See you. Naruto waved back, watching her thoughtfully. He had no doubt Sarutobi knew of these developments. 3 Jinchuriki competing in a Chunin exam? He had to be on his guard and watch out for Konoha's sake. The next day, Naruto stared exasperatedly as Satsuki accepted a challenge to fight from a weird green spandex-wearing genin called Rock Lee. They had successfully detected a genjutsu on the entrance to the exam antechamber, and Satsuki had in his usual style attacked the door guards. But their fight was interrupted by Rock Lee, who caught them with his superior speed. Naruto sensed little chakra in the kid, so he concluded that his speed was pure taijutsu. The work that must have taken the kid had his utmost respect for his hard work. He was a genius of hard work indeed. Though Satsuki had lost much of her drive for vengeance in her new life, she still kept most of her pride as an Uchiha elite. So she was currently headed behind Rock Lee to fight him in a more open space. Naruto had a feeling that Satsuki would get a rude awakening. They stood opposite each other in the hall, Naruto and Sakura watching interestedly. Lee extended his palm, bending his fingers. I will prove to you that hard work is superior to genius, Uchiha Satsuki. I am the strongest genin in Konoha, he said, and proceeded to do just that. He absolutely pummeled Satsuki, kicking her all over the place. Satsuki could see the kicks but could not keep up with his body. She held her own against the taijutsu specialist, but even still, she couldn't predict a good amount of Lee's movements. But she was feeling herself grow excited to learn how to fight against a superior hand-to-hand combatant. Hashirama was the only one to ever last so long against her, so for someone else to hold out for as long as they did against her, without her Sharingan, it truly showed that the new generation was definitely going to surpass hers and Hashirama's own generation. Lee suddenly unwrapped his hand's bandage, yelling, "I will show you the meaning of effort with this move, Satsuki-kun," and leapt into the air. "Lee," came the voice of a tortoise, and an older clone of Lee. "You were told not to use that move." Lee, who was back on the ground, stared with a devastated expression, crying anime tears. "I am sorry, Gai-sensei. I only wanted to prove myself. I accept any punishment you give me." "This is your punishment, my student," yelled Gai-sensei and appeared before Lee and gave him a devastating punch. Lee then walked back from his crater and stood opposite Gai. "I am sorry, Gai-sensei," Lee exclaimed. "It is all right, my precious student, you were only trying to show the flames of your youth. I can understand youth better than anyone." And to the horror of Team 7, Lee and Gai flew into each other's arms, causing a sunset to appear with waves washing up to them. "Ki!" yelled Team 7 in unison, but it was in vain. The sunset did not break until the weird duo had disengaged from their hug. Gai just appeared before them again with stunning speed. "You are the youthful students of Kakashi, aren't you?" "How do you know Kakashi-sensei?" Sakura questioned Gai warily. "He is my youthful and eternal rival. Currently the score stands in my favor. Well, youthful students of Kakashi, it is time for the first round. Good luck." So saying, Gai disappeared. Lee left as well but had a word of advice for Satsuki. "I am not really the strongest genin in Konoha, Satsuki-kun. That would be my teammate Hyuga. Be wary of him." Satsuki snorted derisively. However strong this Niji was, she was sure that no genin in Konoha even held a candle to Naruto. "We need to go," Satsuki came Naruto's voice. Satsuki just nodded and followed him into the waiting chamber. The first thing he could sense was a multitude of rather weak chakras. He looked around carefully and evaluated the potential threats. Gaara, as usual, felt strong, as did Yujito, whom he acknowledged with a wave of his hand. Yujito smiled back. There was another team from a new village he heard was called Sound that had entered a team. They too felt moderately strong, their emotions felt dark as well. But one person truly caught his attention. An unassuming genin wearing a Konoha headband was quietly rearranging a deck of cards. This person was actively suppressing his chakra, but he could not escape from Naruto's acute sensory capabilities. This genin felt of deception, and he had at least Jounin-level chakra. Naruto leisurely walked towards him. "Hey there, who are you and what are those cards about?" The genin smiled at him, but it felt all wrong to Naruto. "I am Yakushi Kabuto, and I am a genin of Konoha. I have taken these exams 7 times and have gathered information on the competition in these Nin-info cards. Would you like any information on your opposition, Uzumaki Naruto?" Naruto smiled pleasantly and shook his head. But Satsuki queried. "I would like information on Gaara of the Sand, Yujito-ni, Rock Lee and Hyuga. You even know their names? That will make this easy. Gaara, yes, 10 B ranks and 30 C ranks, not even a scratch on him, and has strong ninjutsu." Everybody's eyes widened. Yujito, great taijutsu, powerful ninjutsu, a kunoichi to watch out for. Her mission stats are unknown. Naruto looked at Yujito curiously. The nearby Jinchuriki winked at him. Finally, we have Hyuga and Rock Lee both on Team Gai. 33 D rank and 5 C rank missions completed. Rock Lee is a powerful taijutsu specialist, ninjutsu unknown. Hyuga is a known prodigy of the Juken style and a strong competitor. Naruto just glanced at them all. They were all quite powerful for genin. He could feel killer intent coming from the team from Sound. "Playtime is over, now it is time for the first round of the Chunin exams, brats. Follow me," came the gruff voice of a burly scar-faced examiner who gave off an air of extreme intimidation. They nervously followed Scarface into a spacious hall full of desks. "I am Marino Ibiki. First round will be a written round. You need to answer at least one question to pass, and there will be 9 questions. At the end of the examination, There will also be a 10th question, the rules for which will be defined on the spot. The genin just stared at him, surprised at the strange rules. There will be observers for this test, and if you are caught more than 5 times you will be disqualified. Clear? They all nodded. Then let us get started. Naruto stared at their newest proctor, a kunoichi named Mitarashi Enko, who was passing around waivers of death for the genin to sign. They were to enter the forest of death with a scroll and survive there for 3 days. Their objective was to get a scroll, heaven or earth, to complete their set. With both scrolls, they were to head for the tower to complete the test. Great, I get to see what has happened to my forest. The first exam was quite innovative, really. Ibiki had put together a good information gathering test, as the questions were all well above genin level. He had cleverly planted a few chunin test takers from whom the genin were expected to gather information. The ways of gathering information really surprised him. He, of course, could answer all the questions. They were too simple to him. Satsuki had also answered without having to cheat, as it was simple questions. The Hyuga used their Byakugan, and Sakura, of course, actually knew the answers to the questions. Gaara, though, had used an innovative trick. He made an eye out of sand to spy on the others. That left him impressed. The Jinchuriki was good. Ibiki had ended their party, though, asking if they were confident enough to take the 10th question. Those who answered the question wrong would never be chunin, he said. Those who left right then would have a shot next year. To Naruto it was obvious that it was a test of confidence, so he stayed right where he was. Most of the competitors had stayed too. Ibiki then ended the test abruptly, saying they had all passed. Apparently, the question he had asked just then was the mysterious 10th question, and the remaining had all proved that they were worthy of continuing with their conviction in remaining. Putting off thoughts of the first exam, he glanced at Mitarashi Enko. This kunoichi's chakra felt essentially the same as Kabuto's. That was intriguing. What was the connection between those two? His attention was occupied suddenly by Akusa Kunoichi, who handed Enko back her dagger. Her chakra felt full of malice. What was more, her chakra felt a bit like his own. Just what was such a shinobi doing in the chunin exams? She easily had Kage-level chakra. No, that was no normal genin, and she seemed to be shooting unhealthy glances at Satsuki. They would need to be careful with that kunoichi. She was a real danger, unlike these other children. Be careful of that Kusa Kunoichi, Satsuki. She seems really strong. Satsuki turned to him and nodded discreetly. Sakura just looked intimidated. All right, brats. It is time for you to begin. Enter the forest through your designated gates now, Enko yelled. They shot through their designated gates, entering the forest in rapid blurs. Naruto signaled them to stop after about half an hour of traveling. We are deep enough into the forest, and we really need a plan. What do you say we do? Sakura spoke. I say we follow the river. We have a heaven scroll, and we may encounter some team eventually, as they too would naturally gravitate towards the river. We can take the scroll from them easily by ambush, as we have a sensor on our team. An excellent plan, Satsuki said, nodding to Sakura, causing her to blush. Thus they had moved steadily, finding and following the river on its course. Naruto was impressed. His forest had grown quite a bit. The trees seemed to recognize him, and a warm, comforting feeling filled the air as he walked by them. It had been a day since the beginning of the second exam, and Naruto was getting alarmed. He could sense not even a single team on their path, and that was fishy. Naruto turned to his teammates. I find it odd that we have not been attacked at all, and I can sense no one in our vicinity. I don't like this. Satsuki nodded. I too can feel it. Something feels wrong about how easy all this is becoming. Sakura looked worried. Naruto decided to just pause and consider their next move. They were just about out of rations, but still had plenty of water. He decided. We need more rations. You know I can get enough fruits for the journey. Satsuki nodded. But we need to agree on something only the three of us know, in case we are impersonated by someone. Naruto just had the perfect thing. We say the name of my most secret technique. What do you say? Sakura agreed. That should work. All right then, time for me to go, said Naruto and vanished. Naruto reached a clearing not far away from his teammates, and threw around his senses for any eavesdroppers or spies. Nothing. Mokutan, Ringo Taido. A good-sized apple tree with luscious apples rose up from the earth, causing Naruto to grin. A well-placed punch later, Naruto was happily collecting dozens of apples that fell on the ground. This would do for the remaining duration of their stay. His Mokuton was truly powerful, be it to heal or to destroy. His senses suddenly perked up. Heading towards him was a good-sized chakra that felt distinctly slimy. It did not feel even remotely human. So it had to be a summons. Naruto put aside his sack and awaited the hostile summons that was about to attack him. Sure enough, he heard something crashing through the trees in front of him. He waited patiently. With a thunderous crash, the summons broke through the trees in front of him and lunged. Naruto avoided easily enough with a well-timed Shunshin no Jutsu. He examined the huge snake in front of him. There were only 2 recorded snake summoners. One was Mitarashi Enko, the crazy proctor, and the second. Oh no. The snake Sannin Orochimaru was here. The only reason he would bother to send a snake against him was to separate him from Satsuki and Sakura. Damn, he knew there was something about that Kusa ninja. Sure enough, he felt Saktaki's anger flare and Sakura's numbness. He must be attacking them even now. He had to get there and stop the Sannin as soon as possible, but first. Doton, Yomi Numa! A deep swamp formed beneath the snake and swallowed it up easily. He dimly heard Satsuki scream. His anger skyrocketed, and he began radiating his chakra as he ran to Satsuki's aid with a series of Shunshin. What he saw disgusted him. Sakura was paralyzed with fear and Orochimaru was retracting his elongated neck from Satsuki's where he had bitten her. Naruto calmed himself and appeared behind Satsuki. Placing the first 2 fingers of his right hand, he felt for Satsuki's chakra. It was corrupted. He could see a seal forming on Satsuki's neck, and it was faintly red in color. He was no seal master even if he was adequately proficient in the sealing arts, but he could remove the seal that had marked her, and right now Satsuki's ailment required attention and care, either of which he had now. A makeshift solution had to do for now. Kukukuku. Thus enters a new player. I thought I had you with that snake I had sent, Naruto-kun. Orochimaru said, amused. Naruto paid no attention to the slimy Sannin as he stabilized Satsuki with medical chakra. Orochimaru just watched interestedly, making no move to stop him. Satsuki was breathing a much easier and nodded in appreciation. Orochimaru had gotten her when she had leather guard down after she beat a clone. Now to take care of that troublesome seal. Naruto gathered up his chakra to his fingertips, forming 5 kanji characters for sealing. Orochimaru's eyes widened. No! That would waste all his effort. He gathered his chakra and appeared before Naruto, intending to stop him. But before he could do anything, the sealing was done. Fuinjutsu, Fuja Hoin. Orochimaru's seal was surrounded by an outpouring of other characters. That would contain the snake's corruption for the time being. Orochimaru kicked out too late at Naruto, but Naruto stopped his leg nonchalantly with one hand. He faced the enraged Sannin and tossed him so hard into the tree beside him that it shook. Hello, Orochimaru. Hello, Orochimaru. Naruto greeted the Sannin flatly. Orochimaru shook himself out of his daze, seeming stunned at being cast aside so easily by a genin. He looked at Naruto with rage contorting his face. He walked slowly towards Naruto, trying to assess him. You are no genin, Uzumaki Naruto. To know the Fujihoin, to defeat my summons so easily and not to mention stopping my kick so casually, you have much power. Why not join me? Naruto's forest green eyes met Orochimaru's snake-like ones. Thank you for the offer, Orochimaru. But no, I am content here. You however attacked my comrade and nearly killed her so. Naruto appeared in front of Orochimaru and kicked him with tremendous force, sending the Sannin hurtling back into the forest for about a mile, crashing through the trees and foliage. Sakura stared at Naruto disbelievingly, finally out of her mental paralysis. Defeating Zabuza easily was nothing, but matching a Sannin just as easily. Naruto started to leak Mokuton chakra, a faint silver shroud around his body. He turned to Sakura. Sakura, take Satsuki and get up on to the highest tree here. This fight will be harmful to you if you stay at ground level. Satsuki will wake up any moment now. Sakura couldn't move. This was getting too much for her. I can sense Orochimaru returning, Sakura. Move now. Shaken out of her daze, Sakura went on to follow Naruto's instructions and took Satsuki to the highest tree in the vicinity. It was far enough from Naruto that she would be safe from collateral damage, but still near enough to keep him in view. Naruto waited patiently for Orochimaru to show himself. So strong, Orochimaru said, appearing in front of Naruto. The Kusa Kunoichi's face was peeling to reveal his true one. He ripped it off entirely, and stood before Naruto as the Snake Sannin. Tell me, Naruto-kun, how is it you have the Shodai Hokage's chakra? Its potency puts even my chakra to shame. Naruto looked at Orochimaru in amusement. It was too much to hope that my kick put you down, wasn't it? You were Hiruzen's prize student after all. Naruto pondered, sampling Orochimaru's chakra deeply. You defiled the grave of the Shodai, didn't you, Orochimaru, you filthy traitor? You took his cells unto yourself thinking to match his strength. Pieces of the forest floor were rising around Orochimaru in the wake of his anger. The Snake Sannin hid his rage well, but Naruto could taste it in the chakra he emanated. You forgot something, Orochimaru. The first true strength was the will of fire. His power was only a tool and not who he was. You wouldn't understand, would you, you slimy traitor? Naruto was letting his cynical side show now, seeing that his words were getting to Orochimaru. A loathsome scowl marred Orochimaru's face. I will obliterate you, Uzumaki Naruto. You have thwarted me for the last time. Naruto smirked, seeing the sheer strength of Orochimaru. Hiruzen at least taught the shinobi arts well to his students. Come on then, put your money where your mouth is, invited Naruto, beckoning Orochimaru. Sakura stared as Naruto goaded Orochimaru. She was so absorbed in the fight unfolding beneath her refuge that she failed to notice Satsuki stirring. Was Naruto so confident in his own strength? Irritating Orochimaru was a sure way to achieve a painful death. He was described as a man with immense power and a huge arsenal of jutsu, who challenged the Yondaime for the post of Hokage. A veteran of the Third War and trained personally by the Sandaime, Orochimaru was feared by all but the Kage and the other S-class shinobi. That was the man Naruto was challenging so casually. Yet looking at his almost excited face, Sakura believed that he could hold his own. That thought sent shivers up her spine. Oh, came Satsuki's groan. He sat up groggily, staring blankly at Sakura. Orochimaru. He stood up immediately, looking around for the Sannin. Satsuki-chan, exclaimed Sakura, glad that she was awake. Where's Naruto? Questioned Satsuki urgently. She needed to know, she had to help him. That bastard was smarter than he looked, and the fact he managed to deceive her Madara as a child spoke volumes of his prowess. Sakura got an odd look on her face and pointed at a spot below them. Satsuki walked to the edge of the massive branch. What he saw would redefine his conception of Naruto forever. The boy she had found out was the reincarnation of her old lover stood opposite Orochimaru calmly, silver chakra leaking off him faintly, on the verge of combat. The ground around the two of them was cracking up under the pressure of the chakra being released, and that awed him. She was no censor by any means, but even she could still feel the enormity of their power as high up as she was. She felt no jealousy towards Naruto. Instead, she just felt awe, pride, and overpowering concern for the safety of her teammate. Together she and Sakura watched closely as Naruto and Orochimaru finished gathering their chakras. Play, if these trees could talk, Deus Ex Machina. Come. Orochimaru shot towards Naruto with blinding speed, going directly at his vital points. Naruto blocked calmly, and countered with his own strike, which was also blocked. The two opponents glanced at each other and acted simultaneously, beginning their battle in earnest. The lethal snake taijutsu of Orochimaru was matched strike for strike by the nature fist of the Shodai Hokage. Everywhere they met, gusts of wind blew off and the ground exploded. Naruto was drawing strength from the abundant nature chakra pervading the forest and kept on increasing the power of his strikes. His blows were getting heavier and heavier. Orochimaru could hardly believe he was fighting a genin. The strength of his blows was unbelievable. Naruto was enjoying himself thoroughly. The Sannin was truly a snake through and through. He spoke like one, acted like one, and was certainly lethal as one. Naruto dodged one of Orochimaru's kicks, and it impacted the tree behind him, barreling through its trunk and cutting into half. Naruto grinned. Orochimaru was very strong, strong enough that he would challenge him considerably at his current chakra capacity. Of course, if the Sannin had fought Senju Hashirama at full strength, he would be crushed in an instant. He appeared in front of Orochimaru and aimed a kick saturated with his chakra at his head. Orochimaru blocked it, but was blown back through another mile of trees at the sheer strength of the blow. The Sannin looked livid when he confronted Naruto again, looking worse for wear, Sanai Jashu. Massive snakes shot out from Orochimaru's hands and flew directly at Naruto's throat. Naruto held out his hands in the serpent seal. Doton, Chikyu no Agama. Two massive sides of earth rose on either side of the approaching serpents and fell, skewering them into halves. Orochimaru was already going through a sequence of hand seals. Naruto could feel a massive amount of Futon chakra gathering. Futon,